Truth with Consequences is brought to you by patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. You see, today's show is uncut and unedited, just like you will get on the Truth with Consequences Patreon site. Now, of course, they got it a few days earlier, and they get tons of bonus content, tons of special perks, t-shirts, merch, even go to a get-together with myself and Vince Russo himself. Just go to patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC today, sign up, and help support the only outlaw wrestling podcast in existence today. Patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Aww, Truth with Consequences. Don't you dare be sour. Clap for your podcast champs and feel the power.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Welcome to Truth with Consequences. Vince Russo, it is a new day, and that day is Tuesday. How is it to you moving to a new day?
You know, I'm excited. Listen, everybody, the weekends are tough, bro. Everybody, that's your time to do what you want to do. I mean, everybody, you're busting their onions, all week long. And, on Saturday and Sunday, you kind of just want to let your mind rest and you want to relax and you want to take it easy. You don't want to think about stuff. So, I know I myself, bro, I just like to kind of be let alone on weekends. So I think, putting the show up now during the week, people can listen to it driving to work. I'm very excited about the new time.
Yeah, and it's old school. And I think most of, old school, you and I, sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays, there's like this unspoken thing that we don't really work much on weekends because it's family time and it's also not really podcast time. Most people listen to podcasts when they're in their car or they're at work, not when they're with their family. And so,
yeah, working out too. A lot of people listen to podcasts working out, and on the weekend, maybe people work out Monday through Friday, take the weekend off. I think a lot of people. I mean, bro, I know as much as of a Stern mark as I am. I mean, I don't listen to Stern on the weekends. I'll listen to him during the week, but I really don't turn radio on or podcast on the weekend.
Especially if your work is podcasts, Right. But, for me as someone who listens to podcasts during the course of the week, my listening takes place during the week most of the time. I don't know what working out is. I hear you say that, but I've heard of this. Maybe Stevie Richards can help us out. But last week's show was kind of a bipolar show in a way. We had a lot of great reaction for a lot of subjects people think you don't like talking about, Owen, and also the racial discrimination lawsuit, as well as a fun debate about the Beatles, but also your reaction to Bruce Prichard. And I think, you put out an invitation to Bruce Prichard to appear on Truth with Consequences. It's apparent he's not going to do it, but maybe it's time to put that issue behind us as well.
Yeah, and let me make one thing perfectly clear, bro. Like, bro, you could ask me anything. I will talk about anything to the best of my memory and the best that I can remember. What pisses me off, bro, is when you ask me something and I give you an honest answer and then it's you're lying. Bro, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about liars. Bro, you lie to cover up bad things. And I can honestly sit here and tell you guys, I don't think I've done many bad things in my life, bro. I didn't, I've never cheated on my wife. I've never physically hurt anybody. You lie to cover things up. So that's the part where it gets a little dicey. It's like, bro, I'll answer whatever you want to ask me. I don't have skeletons in my closet. If I had skeletons in my closet, bro, I would be afraid of what you're going to ask. But when I give you an answer and then it's not the answer you want, so I'm a liar, that's when I'm going to get upset with you.
I get upset too, because I don't think anybody has a call to call me a liar ever, really, because I live my life in a way where I don't really care what people think about me, because I try to live the right life. But I'll say this about Vince Russo, believe this or not, if you don't believe it, you can call me a liar, is there's been several times, Vince, because we're just getting to know each other. And there's been several times, like I want to say 10 times, I've talked to you off air and I say, hey, do you mind if I bring this up? Because I've worked with people before and there's things people don't like brought up. Do you mind if I bring this up? And you've never said no, not one single time.
I mean, and that's the thing. There's nothing I won't talk about, but it's like when I give you an honest answer, and you don't like that answer because you've already made your mind up. So now it's what am I lying about, guys? You lie if you cheated on your wife. You lie if you committed a heinous act, or if you committed a crime. You lie about that. I mean, lying over stuff in my career, like seriously, bro, who gives a shit?
And, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Disco and everybody over at the Keeping It 100 podcast, because they, were talking about you and talking about the fact that Vince is a good guy. Vince isn't a bad guy. Vince isn't a guy who cheats on his wife or beats up people or treats people badly. And it's kind of ridiculous the way they were saying that you get treated. And, at the same time, we just want to tell all our story. And we're going to save a segment at the end. Starting this week, we're going to save a segment at the end where Vince is going to talk about something, a truth and a consequence of the week, something that may have gotten Vince a little upset, that he feels he needs to set the record straight on, so that, for instance, we might not want to hear about Bruce Prichard the whole show, or Brian Alvarez the whole show, or maybe this week it's Wade Keller, but stay tuned for the end of the show for Vince's kind of outrageous thing of the week that was said about him. Does that sound good, Vince?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, there are things I have to get off my chest. Because sometimes, man, you'll say it once, you'll say it twice, you'll say it 3 times, and people are not listening. And then it's then I get in the FU mode. Now you're freaking pissing me off. Bro, like I said, there is the only, bro, like I said, bro, the only things like that you could possibly lie about, like I said, bro, you commit a crime, you don't want anybody to know, you don't want to get caught, you cheated on your wife, you don't want to get caught. I don't know, bro, maybe you didn't pay your taxes, you don't want to get caught, but you usually lie about things to not get caught. What am I going to get caught in my freaking wrestling career? Like, again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but getting back to the Prichard thing, why would I lie that I had a one-on-one conversation with The Rock? Like, why on earth would I lie about that? Bro, if I was going to lie about anything, I would lie about coming up with the catchphrases. Yeah, I came up with, if you smell what The Rock's cooking, and I came up with the people's elbow. I mean, if I really wanted to lie, those are the things I would lie about. I wouldn't lie about suggesting something in a promo to The Rock, which was my job as a writer and a producer. It was my job to suggest things to the talent all the time. That was part of my job description. So the things you pick and choose that I lie about are freaking ridiculous, bro.
Before we get started with this week's topic, I was just thinking it would be funny if you just said, fuck it. And you said, I'll just lie about everything. And you say, one day I walked up to Steve Austin and I said, Steve, do you know what John 3:16 is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But hey, bro, don't laugh, because that's what some people do. And that's why I take exception to it. Bro, lie about other people. Make shit up about other people. You start making shit up about me, bro, I'm going to prove you wrong. Just like Bruce Prichard was proved wrong. And I don't know why Bruce don't want to come on my show. He came on my show before. I don't know why he doesn't want to come on my show now. Only Bruce can answer that. But the fact of the matter is, bro, if you lie about me, I'm going to make you look foolish. Lie about other people, bro, because if you lie about me, I am going to publicly expose you. Because like I said, bro, if I did anything bad in my life, if I did anything wrong, I will own it and I will live up to it.
And of course, Bruce Prichard is still invited to come on Truth with Consequences for a friendly chat. And of course, it would be a friendly chat and it would be a fair chat because, number one, you know, you guys are friends, old friends. Number two, from my standpoint, you know, the legions of fans they have, they would be honest in a second if we weren't fair. But it doesn't seem like he's going to do it. So we're going to move on to and we're going to talk about that more at the end of the show. But today we're talking about the early days of TNA Sex Sells, which I thought was a clever title, Vince. So let's talk about the early days of TNA. We're going to talk about all the different machinations in the first couple years, all the way up to when Piper came in. Let me ask you this, first of all. When was the first time that you were approached by a Jarrett about this new promotion that they were thinking of starting up?
Oh, God, bro. Going back, I believe TNA started in 2002. And, you know, it's funny, bro, because at that time, I was very, very, very close to going back to the WWE. And this is when I was meeting with Vince McMahon, just one-on-one. Nobody knew. Of course, bro, everything was hunky-dory when it was just Vince McMahon and myself. Nobody knew we were talking. We came to an agreement monetarily, and I was going back. Bro, as soon as that it was made public, well, then all the people, you know, then the wrestling business takes over, bro. Then the politics take over. We're going to do everything we can to cock block Vince Russo into coming, you know, back to the WWE. And that's exactly what happened. So now Vince says, and Vince still wanted me there, you know, so, but there was such, is it called lashback? Is that what am I looking for?
Backlash.
Bro, there was such backlash. Think about this, bro. When I left the WWE in 1999, I left it at the pinnacle of the company, the highest rating it ever had. By the time 2002 came along, they were back down to a 3.0. So now here comes Vince Russo. So you would think logically, oh, my God, we're going to welcome this guy back with open arms, right? This guy had the ratings where they were. He was a big part of that. We're right back down to a 3. We're going to welcome him. No, bro, that's not how wrestling works. Wrestling doesn't want the best people. So this is where politics kick in. I got to protect my spot. If Vince Russo comes in, he's going to outshine me. There might not be a place for me. All the stuff that I knew was going to happen happened. Okay, so now, go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say how we're going to talk about that for sure. Vince Russo's almost return to the WWF in 2002, but after the backlash, after it was decided, and also some other things that went on, we'll talk about another time. When did the Jarretts get in touch with you?
Well, so now, even after all that backlash, Vince still wanted me to come in. So now, rather than come in full-time, he wants me to come in as a consultant. Okay? At the same time, bro, I get a call from Jeff. And I'll never forget it, bro. You know, again, there are things that are clear to me. Jeff Jarrett was my friend. Jeff Jarrett was my closest friend at TNA. And Jeff Jarrett said to me, Vince, I need you to write our TV. I don't know if they had their first show under their belt yet. The first show was the only show I was not at. I watched it on TV, though, but I was not there. But he said to me, Vince, I need you to write our TV. So now, I guess I was serving as a consultant at that time at WWE because I was talking a little bit to Gerwick, and I even had one conversation on the phone with Paul Lee about SmackDown. So now Jeff said, as a friend, I need you to write our TV. So I called Stephanie. And I said, Stephanie, I want you to know I am going to TNA. I'm going to the show this week, whenever it was, and I'm going to, check it out. Jeff wants me to go there and write for them. I don't know what I want to do yet, but I don't want you to read about it online. I want you to know I'm only a consultant now. So I'm going to TNA. As soon as I come back, I will call you and I will let you know what I want to do. So I went to that second show at TNA. I think it was at the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, I think. And I came back, and I don't think I've ever told this before, Matt. I came back and I called Stephanie. And I said, Stephanie, I just want you to know I'm going to go work at TNA. So, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, she tried to kind of talk me out of it. And I remember saying to her, Stephanie, you guys don't want me there. It's apparent to me. It's clear to me I'm not wanted there. And, Stephanie was like, Vince, I don't know what you're talking about. I want you here, this, that, and the other thing. And I basically said, Stephanie, I'm sorry, but my mind is made up. And that's when I went to work for Jeff.
So there's Jeff Jarrett. And something that's very interesting to us all is Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Jarrett. Of course, Jerry Jarrett is Jeff Jarrett's father, and he was very involved in TNA the early days. Explain to me, because I don't really know, what was Jerry's position in the company? What was Jeff's position? Jeff, Jerry did some speaking for the company, in defense of you in particular. What was that relationship like with them as far as running the company goes?
Man, it was very, very, very hard, Matt, because, bro, you got to put yourself in my shoes. I had a good paying consulting gig with the WWE. And, bro, that probably would have went on for some time, because as long as I wasn't involved physically, I don't think there would have been any issues. So I would have sent them my notes if Stephanie wanted to call me to pick my brain. But as a consultant, like I don't have any stroke. I'm kind of there if you need me. And I mean, they were going to pay me six figures to do that. But when a friend said to me, Vince, I need you to write my TV, and it was going to be for less money, Matt. It was for less money. I said to Jeff, okay, out of friendship. So now, bro, you got to understand the position I'm put in. When I go down to Nashville and I start working, bro, it is as clear as day to me that Jerry Jarrett wants to be writing the TV. It's also as clear as day to me that Jeff Jarrett does not want Jerry Jarrett to write the TV, but I don't think he knows how to tell Jerry that, or I don't think he wants to disrespect Jerry. Whatever Jeff's reasoning is, I can't speak for Jeff, but I go down there. It's clear as day to me. Jerry Jarrett wants to write the TV. And, bro, I'm telling you, this is supposed to be a pay-per-view where they're paying money. And, bro, like I'm looking at some of these early scripts because Jeff is giving them to me. Bro, Jerry Jarrett wants to have squash matches. It was like Memphis 73. And I just said to Jeff, I did not, bro, if they weren't father and son, I would have got involved. But the fact that it was father and son, I was like, Jeff, I don't want to get involved between the relationship with you and your dad. I don't want to be in the middle of it. So, like, bro, I kind of sat in the background, kept my mouth shut. Jerry would kind of write the shows, give them to Jeff, and then Jeff would call me. And, of course, bro, Jerry Jarrett and Vince Russo would not write the same show. And, Jeff knew my style. We worked very closely in the WWE. So I think it's fair to say he was more on the side of my style of writing the show than he was Jerry's.
Well, Vince, I think you know me by now that I'm really into the psychology of people and why they do what they do. It's fascinating to me. The Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett paradigm, the relationship there. With those two, you say you don't want to get in the middle of a father and a son, but what was the father and son relationship like? Was Jerry respectful of Jeff? Was Jeff, did he kind of defer to his dad? Was Jerry jealous of Jeff, or did Jerry undermine Jeff, or did they have moments where you could tell they were father and son? What's that whole deal?
No, bro. Listen, anybody that listens to the brand, russosbrand.com, bro, you could see the conversations with me and my father on that show. I bring my 88-year-old dad on that show. You can see a father-son relationship. Bro, what my son Will comes on my shows. You can see a father-son relationship. Matt, bro, the way you talk to me about Matthew, I can see a father-son. Bro, this was the farthest thing from a father and son relationship you would have ever seen. You would have never thought in a million years that it was father-son. You would have thought that Jeff Jarrett worked for Jerry Jarrett. That's what you would have thought. You would have thought that it was strictly business. You would never in a million years thought it was father-son. Bro, there was no emotion. There was no love. There was no laughing. It was like freaking business, bro. And, Jeff was so used to Jerry being in charge at USWA. Remember, Jerry was in charge. Jeff came up as a ref. Then Jeff became a wrestler. So he was so used to his father in charge. All of a sudden now, this Jeff's looking at this company as his baby. But now all of a sudden, his dad's taking charge. And now he's the referee working for his dad all over again and really doesn't know what to do. Now, I want to make this clear, Matt. That's my take on it. Jeff Jarrett may say something completely different. That was my take on it as a third party.
What did Jeff call Jerry? Did he call him Jerry? Or did he call him Dad?
Man, bro, that's a great question. I never heard Jeff call Jerry Dad. I never heard him call Jerry Dad. That's not to say he didn't, but I can't recall ever hearing that.
It's interesting because, you talked about Stephanie McMahon and, Stephanie, for her, criticisms is kind of lockstep and, the apple of the eye of Vince in a lot of ways. And, you could tell if you're going up against Stephanie, you're going up against Stephanie and Vince. But with working with Jeff and Jerry, it's not like they were on the same page, right?
And it's funny that you mentioned that, bro, because Shane and Stephanie, bro, you would never hear Dad.
I got to be honest, Vince. One of the reasons I get so kind of cranky with you, I have a hard time sleeping a lot of time, falling asleep or staying asleep. I wake up in the morning stiff and with pain in my neck and my back. I get hot and sweaty, but I think maybe I just need a different mattress. And you're saying that you have the solution.
This purple mattress, bro, I am telling you, I don't even know what's in this thing. The comfort, the coolness, the sweet dreams, brother.
The quality of my sleep kind of affects the quality of my life. And if I don't have a good night's sleep, I do not have a good day. But you're saying that the purple mattress gives you better sleep and a better you.
Matt, it's hard to explain, and I'll tell you why. Because it's like it's both firm, it's both soft.
You too can be less like me and more like Vince and get a purple mattress because it will probably feel different than anything you've ever experienced. It's very unique because, like Vince said, it's firm and soft at the same time, so it keeps everything supported while still feeling very comfortable. Plus, it's breathable, so it sleeps cool. And you get a 100-night risk-free trial. If you're not fully satisfied, you can return your mattress for a full refund.
Oh, after 100 nights, they're going to have to be prying you off that thing, Matt. 10-year warranty. 10? Who does that? 10-year warranty.
Free shipping and free returns. It's got free in-home setup and old mattress removal.
Matt, they got to get you off the mattress before they return it.
I tell you, I need the purple mattress, and you are going to love purple mattress. And right now, for listeners of Vince Russo's Truth with Consequences, listeners will get a free purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. So in addition to the free great gifts that Purple is offering statewide, all you have to do, this must be a rib, is text bro. Text bro.
Easy to remember. Bro, 3 letters. Bro, go ahead.
To 474747. So you text the number 474747. You text the word bro. That's the only way to get this free pillow is to text bro to 474747. That's bro, B-R-O, to 474747. Message and data rates may apply.
Wait till you get it. You're going to be thanking me again. You would never hear Dad. You would never hear my father. Ever. It was always Vince. It was, you think once in a while they would slip. Well, I talked to my father. No, never, bro, never. I never heard Stephanie and Shane refer to him as Dad or my father. Never, ever. Bro, and we would be in the car rides. It was always the 4 of us. Vince, Shane, me, and Ed. Bro, he called him Vince. He never, ever called him Dad, which was like, it blew me. Because you would think you'd slip up. It would blow you away. But yeah, bro, this was not a they weren't on the same page, bro. As a third person, my perception, they were not on the same page.
I told you off air, it reminds me a little bit of my relationship with my father, where it's cold and distant. We don't have the bond of this great childhood to keep us together. And he's kind of competitive with me. And it's a weird situation. And it sounds like with Jeff and Jerry, it's almost like a loveless marriage where people are tied together by things like children or a business. And it's like if there wasn't the wrestling business and the last name Jarrett, there'd be nothing connecting those two together.
Yeah. Man, I'll never forget. Listen, bro, you will not meet anybody in the business. I'm telling you, bro, that is more closed and keeps things to himself and never shares anything with you personally more than Jeff. Bro, you will. He does not open up to you, bro, no matter how close you get to him. He keeps it all inside. And a lot of wrestlers do that, bro. But, bro, here's an example, and I'll never forget this, because the fact that Jeff told me this, and I could tell, like, it was shit like this that stayed with him. But, like, one of the things Jeff told me was, like, when they were at USWA and Jeff was the kid coming up, that Jerry made Jeff drive Jerry Lawler around. Now, Jeff used to drive Jerry Lawler in his car. Matt, Jeff wasn't even allowed to listen to what he wanted to on the radio. So Lawler would come in the car, put whatever music he wanted on in Jeff's car, and, bro, he treated Jeff like a second-class citizen. Meanwhile, Jeff would get so upset that he would tell his dad, freaking Jerry would take the side of Jerry. Think about that for a second, Matt. If you're working with somebody and they're treating Matt like a piece of shit, are you going to take the side of the person treating him like a piece of shit? Your own son, your own flesh and blood. So stories like this would come out, and it would really make me understand, like, the dynamic of that relationship.
Well, moving on a little bit from that, you, in this paradigm of Jeff calling you to hire you, and then Jerry still being there, and Jerry being the one who wrote the previous TV, and you said, of course, old Memphis style. I'm going to read you from the Pro Wrestling Torch, your good friend Wade Keller reports on July 20th, 2002. Vince Russo is writing future TNA. You're going to friggin' hate this so much. Vince Russo is writing future TNA pay-per-views on his own, but Jerry Jarrett will have great input in the direction of his writing. Jarrett and Russo plan to meet before Russo begins writing each week's TV show. Jarrett plans to lay out his expectations and the parameters for where he wants to go.
Jerry or Jeff?
Jerry.
Yeah, no, that is 100% false. I would not, if that was the case, I would not have worked there for 10 years.
Let me finish, because it's kind of hilarious, because I know you can't work like this, because I tried to format these shows. This is not Vince Russo. Jarrett plans to lay out his expectations and parameters for where he wants to go, especially as it regards how the X division will be portrayed. Russo will then use that framework to fill in the details. Jarrett will then look at the final script and make changes and discuss alternate approaches, at which point a final draft will be written. Hey, I didn't know Jerry Jarrett wrote for The Torch.
Yeah, didn't he write for The Torch? No, but here's the funny thing, Matt. I'll never forget I'll never forget this as long as I live. An early conversation I had with Jerry Jarrett about writing. I said to him flat out, I said, Jerry, I'll be honest with you. I believe 100% that I am the best writer in the history of writing wrestling. I said, I have no problem saying that. I said, the numbers back it up. When somebody comes along that beats me, I will hand them the torch and I will say that they're better than I am. But right now, I know there's nobody that writes a better TV than me. You know what Jerry turned around and told Jeff?
What did he say?
I was delusional. But bro, I got to tell you something. I did something really bad to Jerry here, and I will own it. And again, at almost 58 years old, I will not do it again. I would not do this again. But bro, Jerry was writing those early shows, and it was atrocious. I knew it was atrocious. Jeff knew it was atrocious. Everybody involved knew it was atrocious. It was, bro, we're supposed to be a pay-per-view. It's supposed to be cutting edge. It's supposed to be hip. There's supposed to be violence. There's supposed to be language. There's supposed to be nudity. This is supposed to be an R-rated wrestling show. That's why it's on pay-per-view. That's why it was named TNA. That's what this show was supposed to be. Jerry was writing Memphis 1973. And Matt, I'll never forget this. We had like a company-wide meeting. I'm in there. Jeff's in there. Jerry's in there. Dixie, the Harris brothers, whoever was anybody was in that meeting. Bro, I ripped the writing. Like right in front of Jerry, I buried it, bro. I buried it with everything in my body. Because I knew everyone in that room felt the same way. And once again, bro, Vince Russo was going to be the only guy that said anything. And right in front of Jerry, not behind his back, Jerry was at the meeting. I ripped this apart.
But this is why people don't like you, Vince. Like, it's the same thing of you standing up and letting it be known at WWF, that you thought the writing was crap, Yep. And it's the same thing,
Yep.
with you saying things like, I'm the greatest writer in the world. Sometimes it's best to keep our egos. Conrad Thompson told me this personally, keep the ego between our ears and not between our lips. Do you think that's something that's hurt you? Like, you could have.
Bro, I don't think better. It's not an ego thing, Matt. It's not, ego's the wrong word. It's not an ego thing. It's a confidence thing. Bro, I dare somebody to write a better wrestling show than me. I dare that. It's not ego. I don't think I'm better than you because I write a better wrestling show than you. I just write a better wrestling show than you. So I think ego is the wrong freaking word. It's not an ego thing. It's like, bro, if you're better than me, then freaking write a better show than me. If you're better than me, show me that you're better than me. It's not an ego thing, bro. It really isn't.
It's a confidence thing.
Yeah, no doubt, 1,000%. And bro, and in that meeting, Matt, I was freaking sick and tired of everybody pussyfooting around. Let's stop. Everybody's having these conversations behind Jerry's back. They know the creative sucks. They know this isn't what it's supposed to be. God, somebody's got to say something.
The TNA, of course, you came in and wrote. You attended the second show, right?
Yes.
But TNA was already named TNA, Total Nonstop Action. But you were involved in the naming of the show before it started, right?
Yeah, bro, this is what I can remember because I've heard Bob Ryder talk about like TNA was supposed to be Tuesday night. What?
I have no idea.
Tuesday night action.
Right.
Maybe.
It's something like that. Totally. Yeah. It's total nonstop action.
But I remember, bro, I was in Atlanta. I was working at my CD warehouse and Jeff called me and we needed a name for the show. And so, like, bro, the show was supposed to be TNA. That's what it was supposed to be. So I think Jeff may have said something to me about, like, you know, Tuesday night action or something like that. And I said, well, Jeff, I said, yeah, I mean, let's call it TNA because basically, like, it is TNA. And maybe if it's going to be on Tuesday nights, and Jeff may have said something to me about, well, what if they move the show to a different night? You know what I'm saying? Right. And I think at that point I said, Jeff, TNA can stand for total nonstop action. So it wouldn't matter what day of the week the show was on. So you'll be safe. But TNA has two meanings. Guys are going to know what TNA is. Yeah. And they're going to tune into our show. They're going to get TNA. But if you ever have problems with sponsors or this or that, whatever you could say, you could play stupid. What are you talking about, bro? We're total nonstop action. You're never going to tell them we're tits and ass. Right. You could say, no, we're total nonstop action. What are you talking about? That was the conversation.
You know, for what it's worth, I always thought it was clever. You attended the second show and were brought on, you know, in becoming the writer. You attended the second show of TNA, which took place in Huntsville, Alabama. And, you know, you had, for those who don't remember, the concept was a weekly pay-per-view that was low priced so that they would have a constant influx of money. And it was a weekly event that took place. I want to say it was at $9.95 or $14.95 for the weekly pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I want to say $9.95. I'm not 100% sure.
And the show that you attended, you know, you see X Division match, Jerry Lynn versus AJ Styles versus Psychosis versus Low-Key. Wow. Scott Hall versus Jeff Jarrett. Brian Christopher versus, as he was called at the moment, K-Crush. AMW, America's Most Wanted. James Storm and Chris Harris versus the Rainbow Express. Cheeks versus Frank Parker, and a 9-women lingerie battle royal, and Apollo versus David Young. So when you're watching this, I believe they were 2 hours long. What is it that you saw could be improved?
Just the fact that if you're on pay-per-view, bro, like there are no rules. You know, I mean, you can really push the envelope. One thing I do want to say too, bro, is I don't think this gets talked about enough. Jeff Jarrett really came up with the X Division. I mean, and listen, you know, let's face it, bro. We had already done, you know, Eric had already done the Luchadors, and then, you know, WWE had Brian Christopher and Taka, what is Taka Nikonomo? Taka Tic-Tac-Toe, Taka Nikanushi.
I would love you to keep trying to say his name.
Taka
Michinoku.
Takanoshi.
Taka Michinoku.
Taka Michinoku. So like this wasn't a new concept, but Jeff came up with the name, bro. And you know how Jeff came up with the X Division?
How?
Bro, freaking Jeff would sit there. He would watch the X Games on ESPN. Like that's all he would watch on TV. He was such a mark for the X Games. And I remember Jeff telling me all about the X Division concept. That was all that concept, the X Division, people still talk about it to this day. 1,000% Jeff.
To this day, people talk about it. To this day, I've heard Bruce Prichard talk about it. I've heard Jeff Jarrett talk about it. I've heard you talk about it. But I've never heard the answer to this question, and I think we're going to break some news. What in the fuck does X Division mean? What is the X Division?
X Division, because you know Jeff would have to explain this all the time, but basically like no limitations.
So there's limitations on the other matches, but there's not limitations on the X Division.
I guess, yeah.
My take on it was a way to say cruiserweights without limiting it to cruiserweights. You know where you know, it inferred that, but a lot of people, you know, it was cruiserweights. I remember PCO came in as X, you know, and he was like much bigger than the other guys. But for you as a guy who's not like a work rate or wrestling match fan, you didn't look at those matches and go, wow, that's going to be the hallmark, right?
Well, bro, let me tell you something. Do you have the first show in front of you?
I don't have the second show in front of me.
Well, Matt, I believe there was a 6-man in the first show that I believe AJ was a part of, and I believe Jerry Lynn was a part of. There was a 6-man in the first show. Bro, I remember watching that first show at home, and that match blew me away. Blew me away. Now, you got to understand, bro, freaking 16 years later, now those matches don't mean shit. We've seen it all. There's nothing you're going to do that I have not seen before. But when I watched that match 16 years ago, it blew me away. It's fair to say that match stole the show for me. So, bro, I don't think I thought this was going to be the company, but I thought it definitely had a big place in the company.
It could be a calling card. It could be something.
Yes. Yeah. It blew me away, bro. That first match blew me away.
Now, people could probably take a guess at that first episode, June 19, 2002, involving maybe Vince Russo at some point, because Ed Ferrara was on board, right?
Yeah, Ed Ferrara was doing commentary, I believe.
Now, there was a 6-man tag team match. This is one you're talking about. It was AJ Styles and Low-Ki and Jerry Lynn versus George Estrada, Sonny Siaki, and Jimmy Yang as the Flying Elvises.
Unbelievable.
Was the Flying Elvises, was that your idea?
Bro, I swear to God, you know who I stole that idea from? Here you go, guys. Yeah, no, Matt, that was all my idea. Let me say, that was all my idea.
It was from the movie, right?
No. You know who I stole that idea from, bro?
Who's that?
Freaking when I was at the WWE, okay, Shawn Michaels told me that him and Hunter always had this idea of having a tag team called the Flying Elvises. Shawn Michaels told me that. So sure enough, I always remembered that. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cool. So when I went to TNA, we used that idea. That idea actually came from Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
So you're on board. People get to know that you're on board. You start with the third episode of TNA on July 3rd, 2002?
Yeah. If I watched the first one on TV, I observed the second one. By the third one, I'm probably on board.
And I remember that one like it was yesterday because it was July 3rd, 2002. My wife had just given birth to Matthew, and I went home, and it was on that night. It was the day after he was born, July 3rd. And so I remember watching that and being like, wow, this could be something. I didn't know about paying every week for it as a fan, but I do remember liking the new talent I saw, talking about that talent just a little bit. Do you think R-Truth is wasted now in WWF, or because he showed such a great side as, K-Crush?
Well, I don't think he's wasted now just because of his age. You know what I'm saying, bro? Because, bro, first of all, the guy looks freaking phenomenal. But it really does depend on, at his age, can he go at that pace every single night? I mean, bro, age catches up with you, man. So, I don't know physically if he's still able to do it day in and day out. So, at his age, I don't think they're wasting him right now. But back then, bro, forget about it.
What did you see in him? What I saw in him was his promo ability, his look, and of course, he could always go to those flashy moves in the ring, but it was more just kind of his promo ability, right? He really stepped up as far as Raw and the Truth killings.
I think it was everything, bro. Bro, can we again, I just have to bring this up because the first time I saw Ron Killings, I absolutely fell in love with the guy. Okay. And just for the record, bro, this is Vince Russo, the racist, talking. I just want to clarify that. The first time I saw Killings, my God, bro, my God, You talk about having everything. What didn't he have? He had the body. He had the rap. He could work. He had the look. What didn't Ron Killings have? And that's why we put the belt on Ron Killings very, very early on at TNA.
In the third episode, the one that you kind of started having a hand more in writing, it features a tag team: James Storm, Chris Harris, America's Most Wanted. I remember watching it. My friend Brian and I watched it together, and thinking, "Wow, this is an old school tag team. This is like a Midnight Express type tag team." It didn't really seem up your alley, knowing you now. What did you think about James Storm and Chris Harris?
Bro, you know what it was? See, again, Matt, this is where, like, I have no problem saying I was a prick and I was a dick and I would not do these things today. Okay, bro? Bro, one of the things with me was, like, bro, I've told this story before with Colt Cabana. Bro, if you shove somebody down my throat, it's going to work against them. Don't freaking shove somebody down my throat. You want me to look at somebody, I will look at somebody, then I will tell you how I honestly feel. But when you're constantly pushing somebody down my throat, now you're starting to piss me off. And now, whether I realize it or not, I don't think I'm doing it intentionally, but now I'm going to start taking it out on the team that you're pushing down my throat. Bro, freaking Bob Ryder was pushing this team down everybody's freaking throat. And bro, there's just something about when you push something down people's throats so badly, you want them to fail. You know where that happened, Matt, to be honest with you? That was the Brawl for All at WWE. The way freaking JR was saying Dr. Death matter-of-factly is going to walk away, blah, 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 blah. Bro, it got to the point that everybody wanted to see Dr. Death lose because of JR. I don't know why it's that way, bro. I think it's human nature. But it's like, bro, when you keep shoving somebody down my throat, there's the part of me now that wants them to fail. So, like, that was my introduction to America's Most Wanted.
When you look at James Storm and Chris Harris, of course, James Storm, better shape than ever. It still has a bright future in the business. Chris Harris, Robbie and I interviewed him on Why It Ended. At the time, though, you know, you're a guy who looks at talent and comes up with ideas. You had to look at James Storm, maybe particularly Chris Harris, and say this guy could be, one of these guys could be the future of the company, maybe?
Bro, I had suggested, these are, bro, these are the things I'm never asked about. Chris Harris, we had all agreed, me, Dutch, and Jeff. I don't think Jerry was involved at that time. I think he was already out of the picture. We had agreed that Chris Harris was going to win the title. He was going to beat Jeff. Okay, bro, I used to go to Nashville for creative meetings, and it was me, Jeff, and Dutch. We had all agreed that Chris Harris was going to win the title. Okay, bro? We had told Chris Harris he was going to win the title. Bro, Chris Harris had family come to the event. Bro, I show up at the arena that night, and Jeff and Dutch tell me they changed their minds. Chris Harris they're not going to put the belt on Chris Harris. And bro, this used to happen a lot where I would go to Nashville. I would spend all my time with those two guys. And then when I would leave Nashville, they would change stuff, which would piss me off because it was like, why have me come in the first place? Like, literally, guys, if we're going to agree to all this stuff while I'm here, and then I'm going to go home and you're going to change stuff, then you guys write the TV. I don't even know why I'm involved in this. But the fact of the matter is I showed up at the building that night. They're not going to put the title on Chris Harris. Bro, can I tell you something? I think that night right there, right then, I believe that was the beginning of the end for Chris Harris. I don't think Chris Harris was ever able to recover from that on a personal and professional level.
But looking at that, though, and of course, I've interviewed Chris Harris. I like Chris Harris. And if you guys are like listening and going, who the fuck is Chris Harris? Check out some old AMW matches. He had the look. He was at like he was big. He was a great baby face, could be a guy that a lot of us thought could be a big future star. But considering that this, in your eyes, set him, down a road. And then when he went to WWF, the story of Braden Walker and the floundering that happened in his career, or maybe how he was treated, maybe he just wasn't cut out for it. Maybe they were right to not do that.
I don't think so. I would disagree with that, Matt, because I think that really sent him in the wrong direction. I think that really, really affected him. I think that stripped a lot of confidence from him. What got him in trouble later on was America's Most Wanted started to get over a little bit. And, Chris Harris started walking around with a little chip on his shoulder. And I mean, he even at times had a chip on his shoulder with me. And I was like, brother, don't have a chip on your shoulder with me. I was your biggest freaking advocate, bro. I was the run rooting for you. You're having a chip on your shoulder with the wrong guy. That's when he really started having problems. But I think that originated from him not trusting anybody.
Was he already on your radar from being part of the Russo and Bischoff security team in WCW and doing do you remember that he did that?
Bro, I only knew that because he told me.
That's funny. Okay, so moving on from them, we had, I think, a squash match, and Anthony Ingram took on Monty Brown. Tell us about Monty Brown. A lot of people wondered what happened to Monty Brown. He's another guy.
What another freaking thoroughbred, bro. Monty Brown was freaking phenomenal. Had a phenomenal look, had a phenomenal body, had charisma, had it all. I think, bro, I think it was personal issues. I think it was family issues. Something happened in his life, where we weren't really able to kind of run with him and get full potential. It had nothing to do with his work, nothing. It was something personal. I mean, I'm sure Jeff could tell you that because I didn't get involved in that stuff.
Definitely like a new age Bad News Brown, Bad News Allen. Monty Brown really had it all. He was signed to WWF, and then again, a new name. They didn't do anything with him. He was, as was Braden Walker, Chris Harris, sent to the ECW brand where nothing really happened with him. But I think you're right. I think there were some personal issues that made it, and not the type we usually hear about.
What was he? What was his name at WWE, bro?
Marquis Corvon. Something Corvon.
You see, you made fun of me before with Takanashi.
Right.
Now you're getting karma, bro. You see what happens?
So you also had a couple old. Here, you're right. But you had a couple Mark Corvon. Oh well, you guys will tweet it to us. I'll probably Google it tonight. But we also had some older guys in there.
Apologize to me for making fun of me with the Takahashi.
So. Takahashi, that's funny. My son is very excited about seeing Tanahashi wrestle tomorrow at Wrestle Kingdom. Takahashi is another one, but you had some older guys in there too. Like, I think it was important to bring up these young guys, but you had Scott Hall had a big place in the card at the time. What was the relationship like? What was it like working with Scott Hall? Of course, his issues.
Bro, I never had a good relationship with Scott. I never did, bro. And I don't dislike Scott. I don't not like Scott. I mean, none of the above. Scott Hall was just one of those guys with me or to me that just made my job harder than it was. Like, Scott just made everything difficult. Like he couldn't make it easy. And bro, I'm sure that's where he was at that point of his life, and like I get it, but he just never made anything easy.
Can you give an example of that? What do you mean by that?
Bro, just when if you need him to do a pre-tape. You know what I'm saying? Like, Scott, let's go shoot this pre-tape, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to do 20, 30 pre-tapes for the night. And, bro, him doing it on his time. You know, he's not going to do it when you need him to do it. He's going to do it when he's ready to do it. And that just F's you up, bro, because if you're on a schedule in the back and you've got to shoot 20 pre-tapes with 20 guys and you're waiting on Scott Hall, that just screws everything up for you as a producer.
Did he have a superstar attitude?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think he would say so. I think for him to not say he had a superstar attitude, I think he would say he did.
Of course, Scott Hall's one of the all-time greats. You can maybe had an attitude like time had passed him by and he had every tool to be one of the greats of all time, and for whatever reason didn't happen, and maybe finding himself in TNA was not where he wanted to be. Were there?
Yeah, and I think that happened with a lot of guys.
Yeah,
I think that happened with Mick. That happened with Booker T. No question about it, bro. They did not like being the big fish in the little pond.
I was going to ask, was there some outright talk like, fucking stuck in Nashville and this is bullshit and I've headlined in front of 20,000 people before and here I am here?
Yeah, there was. I mean, there definitely was, bro. I remember Booker T, who I love to death. I remember I had an incident with Booker T. The only incident I ever had with him was, you know, he didn't want to do a job to Matt Morgan. And, you know, and that's exactly what it was. You know, I mean, I'm Booker T and who's Matt Morgan? It was that type of a thing. Mick was very, very hard to work with at TNA. Not hard at all to work with at WWE. It was a piece of cake. But it seemed like when we got to TNA, like just everything was through a magnifying glass. And I mean, these guys had a different attitude in TNA, bro, than they did when I worked with them at the WWE, probably because they were allowed to.
With this TNA thing, it gave a lot of young guys the opportunity to be seen. It gave a lot of, you know, older guys that we knew their names of, like Scott Hall, who had a lot of cachet and a lot of credibility in, but also it gave some second chances to guys. What was your experience on this card, the first one you worked on, with Buff Bagwell?
Bro, I was always a fan of Buff, and, you know, he knows that. I mean, you know, and again, you know, just, you know, bro, again, you know, when you have the baggage of a Buff Bagwell, the difficult thing about writing for somebody like that is you always have in the back of your mind, when's it going to happen again? It's always in the back of your mind. So like every time you're writing for him or putting him in a program or you have plans, there's always that hesitancy because you can't ignore the track record.
Buff Bagwell is not very different in 2018, 2019. Does that surprise you? No,
not at all. And I still love the guy.
Yeah, I do too. He's the world's best interview, by the way. Buff Bagwell, best interview in the world. So, you know, closing out this card, though, you had a lot of different people. The one person that was a champion, the world champion, and the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, because if you don't remember, it was NWA TNA, was Ken Shamrock. So talk about where Ken, and you've talked about that maybe contractual things kind of halted his push in WWF. But talk a little bit about, number one, Ken Shamrock, where you saw him as the future in the company, and also the NWA relationship a little bit.
Yeah, bro. Again, I didn't like the NWA relationship because we're supposed to be TNA, bro. We're on pay-per-view. Everything we talked about, what we were going to be, now we're a wrestling company. Now why are we paying $9.95 for this? Why am I paying $9.95 to this when I could see a superior product, the WWE, on TV for free? So I hated the whole NWA thing. It was against what we talked about and what this company was supposed to be. But yeah, no, I was a big fan of Shamrock. I've always been a big fan of Shamrock. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, he was going to have a main part in TNA.
The future star, as everybody saw it, coming off of his, you know, short WCW run as part of a tag team with Frank Paris, is AJ Styles. AJ Styles was the young guy on the block, part of the X division, had a great look, was young, had a very unique ring style. Coming in, where was AJ Styles on your radar?
Well, bro, bro, at the beginning, AJ had to be like one of the worst promos. I mean, he had all the tools, bro, but he could not. And, bro, he had such a thick, heavy, Southern, good old boy accent. And, like, I knew, like, bro, that's going to hold you back. Bro, people hate when I say this. And I don't care, Matt, because it's the truth. It's like you say, I get in trouble because I say the stuff everybody else thinks. Bro, let me tell you something about being a New Yorker or being from a big city, being from Chicago or coming from LA. Okay, bro? Bro, when you have that heavy Southern accent, people from New York are going to think you're a pussy.
Do you ever think that your viewpoint is maybe skewed just because you're from New York and it's one of these things where we grew up is the shit and the way that we grew up seeing things is the way everybody grows up seeing things? Is it possible that maybe you're just putting your own prejudices?
Bro, how does this what's the lyric in New York, New York? If you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere. So that's how I always looked at it, bro. I'm sure Vince McMahon Sr. looked at it the same way. I know Vince McMahon Jr. looked at it the same way.
For sure.
If you can get over in New York, you can get over anywhere, bro. And the same go. You could put L.A. in the same sentence. If you can get over in L.A. and Chicago, New York, you will get over. So that, Matt, that has to be the measuring stick.
Well, I think the show is about really getting your viewpoint and your perspective. I think we've got that. I think we can agree to disagree on that, and let the people kind of give us some feedback on Twitter at RussoCoonTWC, and of course on our Facebook. Facebook.com.
But let's make one thing perfectly clear. I don't hate people from the South. I just think it is extremely difficult to get people from the South over on a national level when you're talking about L.A., Chicago, New York, the biggest cities in the world. And like I said, nobody can name one wrestler that got over on that level.
But you're also saying that people that talk with Southern accents, people think they sound like pussies. And I'm not sure that's true.
In New York, people think they do.
Societally, though, we had a president who was just elected without votes from those big cities. They were without Chicago or New York or even the bigger cities in Texas, of course, California, that, people, that there's a large contingent of other people in this United States besides big cities.
Yeah, but Matt, there's a big difference between running the country and getting people to tune into a television show. I think there's a little bit. Now, bro, don't get me wrong. Can we look at the other side of the coin?
Is there in 2018? All right, go ahead.
Yeah, can we look at the other side of the coin?
Sure.
I used to love watching Hee Haw as a kid because of those women. Those women were freaking gorgeous. So, like, as a New Yorker, I would watch Hee Haw to watch Bobby Benton and those beautiful women every week. Bro, I'm looking at it from a realistic standpoint. And that's where people get upset with me. I'm being realistic and I'm being honest. And like I said, bro, it's as simple as name one guy with a Southern accent in the history of wrestling that got over on a national level. It's that simple.
But it's perception is reality, and it's opportunity too. Who's one person that people tried to get people to get behind on a national level? Like, it's one thing to say there's never been a Southern guy to be over on a world stage, but who was given that opportunity?
But why weren't they given that opportunity?
Well, because people from New York thought they sounded like pussies, I think.
Okay, well, that's where the conversation started.
Before, is it possible that maybe you're just coming from a standpoint of, this is my viewpoint because of where I was raised. I could be wrong, but I was put in a position to make decisions, and from my viewpoint as a New Yorker, that's what I saw. It might not be a universal truth.
Bro, it doesn't matter where you lived. If you watched movies or television, that's how people from the South were positioned. But it doesn't matter whether you lived in it doesn't matter. That's what you saw. I talk about Hee-Haw. I talk about the Dukes of Hazzard. That's how they were portrayed on television. So that's what you saw. Bro, ask me Jeff Jarrett's favorite television show.
Is it Bonanza?
No, the Andy Griffin Show. I mean, come on, bro. I didn't portray them that way. That's the way it was portrayed. Bro, in New York, they're portrayed as wise guys. That's why people don't like me. It doesn't matter whether you lived in New York or Alaska. When you put on a television set, how are they portrayed?
But as a New Yorker, you're thinking of Southern people as hee-haw, and there's other television shows, there's a lot of television shows that portray Southern people different at the time.
Name three.
Well, you've got your Gunsmoke, right? You've got all the Westerns.
Westerns didn't take place in Florida.
So Florida's...
What were you talking about, Westerns, bro? Westerns took place in Georgia?
Probably not.
Bro, Matt, listen. They were called Westerns. That means it was probably somewhere in the West. So let's take that off the list. Go ahead, Matt. Name one.
But there's no
Smokey and the Bandit. Smokey and the Bandit with Big Hoss.
What about the Dukes of Hazzard? Those two boys would whoop some ass.
But they were good old boys, bro. They were good old boys. It was all about drinking, partying, and fighting. They were good old boys, bro. See, you're blaming me for something that, bro, this is how our entire lives certain people are portrayed. You're in the West, you're a cowboy. You're in the New York, you're a mobster, you're mafioso. You're in the South, you're a good old boy. That's the way it's always. Bro, look how Archie Bunker was portrayed. Where did Archie Bunker live? New York.
Okay, so all right.
That's all reality, bro. That's where people get pissed off at Vince. Oh, I can't believe he's saying that. Bro, it's freaking reality. I did not like AJ any less because he was from Gainesville, Georgia. That had no bearing on me. But as a television writer, I got to look at this realistically, and I've got to say to myself, is this guy with such a heavy accent going to get over in the big markets? You've got to ask yourself that question.
And to be fair, that was the experience that you came up with WWF. That was definitely Vince's viewpoint. That was definitely the company. Like if someone had a Southern accent, Vince would be like, "Goddamn, pal, get rid of that accent," right?
And he would look at them a certain way. Sure. You see, I didn't look at them a certain way. Look, bro, let's take Jeff Jarrett for instance. Bro, I was a huge advocate of Jeff. I came up with stuff for Jeff every week. Vince didn't want to do anything with Jeff because of exactly what I'm talking about. So, like, I knew Jeff's accent was going to be a hindrance on the big scale, how people look at him. But see, bro, you could make him a cowardly heel. If he's a cowardly heel and he's from the South, well, that's how some people look at. So it works in that instance.
But okay, you're just feeding.
Hey, you know what? Say it.
Well, you're feeding into stereotypes that exist only in your reality. When you went to the South, I know you said you went to the South and your takeaway was that they were racist.
Absolutely.
But these are caricatures that you're feeding into, as opposed to saying, people are people no matter where they're from. And we could get to the core of somebody and we could really find out what they're about. Southern people can be as badass as Northern people. They just need the characterization to make it happen. But for you, you just kind of write it off right away because of hee-haw.
Matt, because you're not separating personal from professional. Okay, personally, I don't care where you're from. It doesn't matter. I love AJ Styles. It does. I could care less where you're from personally. The reality of the situation is professionally, that is going to matter because of what all of us grew up believing. All of us, not just Vince Russo, the way New Yorkers were portrayed on TV, Southerners, people from the West, bro, you know, hip hop, you know, the way people are portrayed on television, that's what you perceive as the reality. That bro, that stuff has to be taken into consideration when you're writing television.
Well, speaking of writing television and Southern people, Jerry Jarrett in The Torch in July defended his decision to hire you. And he's telling a much different story than he tells today. He on the NWA TNA website, he says, I can tell you why I went after Vince Russo and was successful in bringing him in to be on our staff. Vince had a successful run in WWE, and that is fact. I know the WCW situation better than most because of two factors. One, I tried to buy the company, and I turned down the job of Booker. And then two, J.J. Dillon, who worked in management for WCW, now runs my construction company. And J.J. and I have spent many hours discussing the fact that no one could have succeeded in WCW. So this leaves Vince Russo with one win and a loss he should not have to take. During the many hours of conversation that Vince Russo and I have had, I find that he has a great appreciation for wrestling and great wrestlers. He's an exceptionally creative person who does not wear his feelings on his sleeve. And he also goes on to say on a wrestling board, he says, all I can ask is you judge by our product. I don't have a crystal ball, but I really feel that Vince Russo can help our efforts here at NWA TNA. Did you feel there was backlash already going on when you were hired on to NWA TNA?
Now, listen, bro, I got to be honest with you. Here's the bottom line. Jeff and Jerry did not have the same vision. No. Bro, can I tell you something? Do you know maybe 6 months to a year prior to the launch of TNA, do you know Jeremy Borash and myself, we had a meeting with DirecTV. We were pitching a show called Bitch Slap. And what Bitch Slap was at that time, it was a 2002 version of Glow. Okay? Hot, beautiful women with really cutting edge gimmicks. I mean, bro, if I sent you some of the characters of these women, you wouldn't believe it. We met with DirecTV. We wanted to do a weekly pay-per-view. This is long before TNA. Okay? This was supposed to be an R-rated product. That's why people were paying the $9.99, because you were going to see stuff on this show that you could not see on the WWE. That was Jeff's vision and idea. Jerry, this is Memphis all over again. So those two guys were never on the same page. Bro, finally, like I said, Jerry probably has every right to hate me and bury me in interviews and say whatever. I caused the breakup of him and his son because of that meeting where I said everything that everybody else wanted to say. Because it was like, bro, what is this company, man? Is it going to be Jeff's vision or is it going to be Jerry's vision? Like, what is this?
I mean, how precarious is the relationship if it dangles on a string that Vince Russo can cut in a booking meeting, though?
What do you mean?
I'm just saying it wasn't exactly the strongest. You can't blame Vince Russo for a split between a father and a son. I mean,
oh, no. I mean, that's ridiculous. But you know what it is, bro. I mean, it's the Alvarez syndrome. You start blaming Russo for one thing, you're going to start blaming him for everything else. So the fact that, and bro, let's make no bones about it. The only reason Jerry Jarrett lost his spot at TNA was because of what he did. It had nothing to do with Vince Russo. Bro, when you're working for TNA and you're bringing a talent to Vince McMahon, that was it. And, bro, let me tell you something.
I'm sorry.
That was the last nail in the Jeff Jerry coffin. When Jerry did that, Vince Russo had zero to do with that, bro.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What happened was Jerry. Okay, this situation's going on. Okay, there was this talent that Jerry Jarrett found. Some big dude, some big muscle guy, whatever the case may be. While Jerry's involved with TNA, he brought this talent to Vince. He had a meeting with Vince McMahon and the WWE for Vince to sign this talent when he was working and associated with TNA. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for Jeff.
What's his angle? Why would he do that?
Because he probably was taking a percentage if the guy got signed.
And so Jeff saw that as a
that was
betrayal?
it. No, bro, that was Jerry's last involvement in TNA. That right there.
Why does okay, well, that's crazy. But why does Jerry hate you so much now? Now, we've all been to these wrestling shows and conventions, and we've seen the t-shirts that are out there. There's like 3 or 4 that are more popular than the rest combined. But you can represent yourself and show that you're not part of the wrestling bubble and help our show out and represent Truth with Consequences by picking up a shirt from shirtsoftruth.com today. You can get a Russo's Club shirt or hoodie. It's our most popular shirt, and you've seen it on Raw and SmackDown by smart people in the audience, as well as Russo Coon 2020. You get a wrestling bubble shirt. You get a myriad of shirts with the many mispronunciations that Vince has. You can even get I'm a Matt Coon guy, but no one wants that. Go to shirtsoftruth.com today. Let's get these shirts flying off the shelves so next time you go to a show, you can say, I am not part of the wrestling bubble. Shirtsoftruth.com. Why does Jerry hate you so much now?
Bro, Matt, why do people hate me? Let's really examine that. Why do people hate me? I could tell you first and foremost, people hate people that tell the truth. That's why I had this conversation with Vito the other day. That's why a lot of people hate New Yorkers. Okay, bro? People hate freaking Bully Ray. They hate Bully Ray. They hate Vince Russo. New York is pull no punches, bro. We're very right, wrong, or indifferent. We are honest. We don't go behind your back. We don't politic. We don't screw you. We're honest. People don't like that, bro. Like that's number one. People don't like that, bro, especially when they're the opposite. Bro, you know how Eric Bischoff brings up there are 2 times he got burned by Vince Russo?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
You know what those 2 times are, Matt? You know what those 2 times are? When I called him out. When I called him out and he didn't like it. I called him out man to man twice. And both times it did not work to his advantage.
Is there a way to tell?
And those 2 times stick in his craw because I called him out, because I said, bro, you're full of shit. And he did not like that. People don't like when you do that to them, bro.
Is there a difference between telling the truth and calling somebody out? I mean, a lot of times I think when people say, I'm a truth teller, or I tell the truth, that's why people don't like it. A lot of times people say things for shock value that is the truth, but they kind of defend it as saying, I'm just telling the truth. But really, there's a whole different way you could say it if you cared about people's feelings or you really wanted to meet your goals. You know, that is short-sighted just to spit out whatever's on your head, regardless of how people feel about it.
Oh no, Matt! I told you. I said that a few minutes ago. The way I handled that meeting that day, I would not handle it the same way today. I mean, no doubt that, bro, that comes with age and experience. But I mean, you know, bro, at that point, like, you know, I think I'm still in my 30s, you know, I mean, no, bro, I would not handle it that way today. But, bro, again, I want to get back to the New York thing. The New York thing is like, bro, we don't give a shit. Like, we're going to tell you, like, if we believe this is the truth, we're going to tell you. If you can't handle the truth, that's on you. That's just the way we are, bro. And if people hate me for it, then freaking hate me for it. That's the way it was when I was freaking raised, bro.
Matthew and I love going to New York. We go to New York. We've been to New York probably 8 times in the last few years. And the last time we went to a Dunkin' Donuts, and a construction worker walked in, and he's like, man, I just saw a motherfucking cockroach this big. And he's screaming and yelling about this cockroach dropping F-bombs. Matthew closes his eyes, puts his arms out, and he goes, New York.
That's the way it is, bro. I mean, that's the way, bro. I'm not going to apologize for the way I was brought up. All right, I was brought up. My parents, my grandparents, their grandparents brought them up. I'm not going to apologize for that to anybody. And if you want to hate me for that, freaking hate me for it, bro, because I'd rather be that way than everything that happened to me in the wrestling business, bro. Backstabbing, politicking, talking behind my back, working this one, working that one. It makes me sick to my stomach.
You know, and even with your truth telling, even with your, you would even say immature, since you've matured now, even today or back then, you didn't say a lot of the things about people that people say about you. Now, you and I'm assuming you get the same Google alerts that I do for you. And so a lot of them recently are from Jerry Jarrett, where Jerry Jarrett, I mean, this is just terrible. I just want you to address it because he's going around doing shoot videos, doing Hannibal TV, and he's doing his podcast that no one listens to. And he's saying that on breaking his rule to tell Jeff about working with Vince Russo on Hannibal TV, he said, quote, I broke my own rule. I told him, Jeff, that's a horrible mistake. Russo was a cancer cell. I don't know if he's got a picture of you with a goat or what, but that's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
What's his fucking motivation? That's bullshit.
Well, bro, let's look at this. Is again, bro, about liars and workers. This is a perfect example. And this is like with me, bro, you're going to know. You're going to know. This is a perfect example. You just read the comments he said to the Torch. You just read those comments.
Those are not aligned at all.
Okay, they don't align. So let's break this down. First of all, bro, let's look at it this way. First of all, if you really felt that way about me that you're saying now you spoke to Jeff about, okay? If you're really feeling that way, would you say those things to the Torch? And literally say things where you absolutely feel the opposite? Because, bro, like, I don't know why you would put, first of all, I don't know why you would put somebody over that you hate. Second of all, if you really hate me and you're doing that, well, now you're a worker. Now you're working Wade, and now you're working the Torch, and now you're a liar. Now you're lying because that's not how I really feel about Vince. Bro, first of all, let me break this all down for you so you'll see how it happened. Jeff wanted me in the company. Jeff told me, I need you to write my TV. So basically, bro, right then and there, Jerry had no choice. Okay, Jeff wanted Vince hired. Jerry had no choice. So, bro, now when I get hired and Jerry's writing the TV and Jeff's bringing the TV to me because Jeff know it sucks. And I'm saying to Jeff, well, Jeff, maybe you tweak this, you change this, you do this, you do that. And Jeff's going back to Jerry. Well, bro, now Jerry's telling Jeff, Vince is a cancer. You should have never brought him in. You made a huge mistake, yada, yada, yada. When Jerry starts seeing Jeff align more with me, that's when the anti-Vince promos is starting to come out. Because think about it, bro. What did I do to Jerry Jarrett up to that point? What did I do to him? Hey. I did absolutely nothing to him. When I was hired in that company, I did nothing to the man. There had to be something that changed his mind. That's what changed his mind when his son started seeing things more my way than his way. The same thing happened with Cornette and Vince. It's the same exact thing. When did Cornette turn on me? When Vince McMahon started seeing things the Vince Russo way.
When you took his job, right?
Well,
it's same. But real quick sidebar: why does Bruce Prichard hate Jerry Jarrett so much?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Has it always been that way?
I never thought it was hate. I just thought it was him making fun of Jerry, like as a simpleton from the South. I mean, that's what Bruce always used to do. I never looked at it as hate. I just thought he used to make fun of Jerry.
It just takes a tone where Bruce doesn't give Jerry Jarrett any credit for anything ever, and just kind of plays him like you said, as a simpleton, as a simpleton who had nothing to contribute to wrestling.
And that's the sad thing, bro. That's what you talk about psychology, Matt. I would really like to dive into this because you know why, bro? Like, for all these guys that talk shit about me and literally hate me, Jerry Jarrett hates me. Cornette hates me. Eric Bischoff hates me. The thing that's I don't understand is, like, why don't I hate them? Like, I don't hate Jerry Jarrett, bro. Like, I don't hate Jerry Jarrett at all. No matter what he goes out there and says about me, I'm not going to hate the man. Like, that level of hate, bro, it goes beyond wrestling. It really goes, it's hitting a nerve much, much, much deeper than professional wrestling.
It's always easier. It's always easier to point the finger at someone else than point the finger at yourself. And I think there's a bit of that going on too. But that being what it was, Vince Russo is brought on as the head writer, the creative force behind TNA.
I would not say that, bro. I would not say that. The early days of TNA was me, Jeff, and Dutch. Those were the early days of TNA. Now, Matt, he if you want to say head writer or the guy in charge or this, that, and the other thing, Matt, here's the difference. I would bring all the ideas to the table only because I knew they wouldn't. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, I knew we had a full show to do. I know there's 30 guys on the roster, whatever. I know that Jeff and Dutch would come to that meeting with a few ideas about a few people. They would never come to those meetings with, like, what are we going to do with A through Z? So I knew I had to come to those meetings with 1,000 ideas. And that's usually what happened. Bro, a lot of times Jeff would pitch the Jeff ideas. This is what I'm doing, this, that, and the other thing. Dutch had his favorites. Later on it was the women's division. So Dutch would have storylines for what he liked. Well, Vince Russo was the guy that I had to flush out the rest of the show because I knew these guys were just going to bring to the table what they were interested in. So I don't think the term head writer is correct. Jeff ran the company, bro. Jeff had final say so.
Now, one of Jerry Jarrett's creative things that he did in the 70s was he created a wrestler, Mr. Wrestling 2. You know where I'm going, right? That's good, right? So Mr. Wrestling 2 was a masked character, and he was very over in the Georgia area and, headlined big cards. And in TNA.
Now, if he was over in the Georgia area, could Mr. Wrestling 2 have been over on the national level? Could he have been the WWF champion?
If Vince got behind him, maybe, You don't think?
Okay, Matt, I'm sorry to interrupt.
He had a big Southern accent, though. So, Mr. Wrestling 2, of course, was a masked wrestler. And in November 20th, 2002, Mr. Wrestling 3 started interfering in matches at one of the weekly pay-per-views. And then Mr. Wrestling 3 unmasked, and it turned out to be Vince Russo. You just said that, Jeff had Jeff ideas. Did Vince Russo have Vince Russo ideas?
Bro, can I bang my head against the microphone 3 times.
Go ahead.
Okay. Matt, can I be totally honest with you?
Sure.
When this idea was pitched to me, Matt, I had no idea who Mr. Wrestling 2 was. Never heard of him. Had no idea who he was, where he wrestled, what his history was. I did not want to disrespect Jerry. This was Jerry's idea. So I did Mr. Wrestling 3. I had no idea what the history of Mr. Wrestling was.
Oh, so Jerry pitched it. That's hilarious. That's awesome.
Yes.
And that is kind of the kickoff to forming your own faction. You formed it called Sports Entertainment Xtreme with your friends, the Harris brothers, and Brian James, the Road Dogg, who now, of course, is in charge of SmackDown. Explain to me what a lot of people have a lot of interest about the SEX, Sports Entertainment Xtreme. Explain to me what you wanted to do. A lot of people kind of draw comparisons to the New World Order storyline in WCW.
Well, bro, this is a pinnacle point year in the history of wrestling. Because, bro, I knew this is 2002. Attitude Era is long gone. Been there and done that. It's going to be very, very hard to top. But I knew we needed to go forward because professional wrestling has a tendency to go back. Okay, people live in the wrestling bubble. They have a tendency to go back to what they don't know, bro. You can't go back. You got to go forward. You got to raise the bar. You got to go to the next level. You now got to bring wrestling into 2003. This is what I was always trying to convince Jeff of, but you had Jerry pulling the other way. Finally, like I said, bro, when Jerry brings this guy to WWE and he's done, like he's finished, it's over. So now Jerry's not around. And now I could really explain the concept to Jeff. And the concept, bro, was to improvise. Don't freaking script everything. Let things happen organically. Let people really have to react to real situations. Let's make this as real as we possibly can, to the point of never scripting when Vince Russo is going to be in a building.
So complete and utter improvisation, hanging by the seat of your pants, really trying to work your way creatively on screen, out of situations. That was the next level of creativity for you.
Exactly, bro. And it was working. Bro, SCX had a separate locker room from the rest of the TNA talent. and it was across the arena. We used to dress on one side. They used to dress on another side. I mean, organically, the story was really beginning to write itself. And to me, bro, it was the most exciting time ever in my career. And the possibilities of where to take this, it was definitely, bro, the most exciting, promising time in my life, but also the most disappointing. And I think because of the disappointment of that, that's exactly why 17 years later, the product is where it is and less people watch it every week.
It's an interesting concept, and I know what the answer would be, but if you went with this full improvisation, full, I don't know a better word for it, just completely improvised, work shoot kind of thing, where and it was even beyond that, where some people thought it was real, right?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, no doubt.
Did you have would you say we're working towards this pay-per-view, or you just let stuff happen?
Well, bro, again, bro, we always, no, bro, we weren't working. Well, yeah, we were working to pay-per-views. We were always working pay-per-view to pay-per-view. Like, we knew what the big matches were going to be. So we're still working towards those matches, but we're doing it in an improvisational way.
So let's talk about some of the members here of SEX. Of course, Triple X, which had some awesome matches with America's Most Wanted, and was Elix Skipper, very underrated, almost forgotten person in the history of wrestling, who was great. Low Key and Christopher Daniels. What can you tell us about Triple X?
Yeah, no, bro. Just, again, these are guys that were ahead of their time. Like I said, bro, the problem with today is those guys did everything that you're seeing today. So you're not going to do anything we have not seen, but it was more wrestling then, bro. The only way people can introduce new kinds of moves today is in the form of choreography. It's not in the form of wrestling anymore. It's in the form of spots. They were still wrestling back then, bro. And those guys were really trendsetters ahead of their time.
Where do you draw the line between choreography and spots and, and what they did?
Well, you could tell by just when you watch the match. When you watch the match, bro, it is no longer a match. It is getting your spots in and setting up for spots. Back then, bro, you felt like they were still competing to win a match. They weren't doing things that made absolutely no sense, that nobody would do if in that position.
Were you in the building when Elix Skipper tightrope walked to the top of the cage to do the Hurricane Rana in the match against America's Most Wanted?
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about, bro. It's funny. It's like, I don't remember being in the building, but I would have had to be, but I don't remember it.
Watched that thing so many times. It just could have gone wrong so many ways. I mean, my goodness. Hey, tell us a little bit. One of our Twitter followers on Twitter at RussoKunTWC asked particularly about this guy, Sonny Siaki. Tell us about Sonny Siaki. Why didn't he become a bigger star in the business?
God, bro, I thought Sonny was great. I thought Sonny had a great, he looked a lot like The Rock. A lot. But I thought Sonny was great, bro. I thought Sonny had a lot of promise. He was one of my favorite guys there, bro. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
You also, of course, one of the founding members, B.G. James, of course, the Road Dogg, Jesse James. Also, very similar to Jeff, comes from a wrestling family. His father promotes and booker for the Continental area. What was working with Brian James like? Did you see any indications that he would be where he is today?
Ah, man, bro, I love Brian to death. I think Brian's probably got heat with me now because he unfollowed me on Twitter because obviously he doesn't like the things I say about the WWE product. Sorry, Brian. I mean, I value our friendship, but I'm not going to lie to freaking, my listeners and my followers. So, you'll be my friend. I'm not going to do that. Bro, he had his demons, man. He was having big issues back then with pills and it was ugly, man. It was, some of the times the way he used to show up at work. I mean, bro, there's nobody in the business more charismatic than him. Nobody. But back then, bro, he was really battling some demons.
We talk about these guys a lot who fell to the demons and people that have ongoing struggles. Is it fair to say that the Brian James you knew then is very much not the Brian James that exists today,
no doubt.
in a positive way?
Two completely different people. No doubt about it. Thank God for that.
You also had people like David Flair and Mike Sanders, but also somebody that you had a kind of a feud with in a way who was kind of vying for the control of SEX was your good friend Glenn Gilberti, the Disco Inferno, the Louse. Talk about what you saw his place in the company at the time.
Man, I got to tell you, bro, when we went to Sports Entertainment Extreme, Disco Inferno became Glenn Gilberti. I can't believe how believable he was as Glenn Gilberti because you always thought he was a clown as Disco. He was a clown. But all of a sudden in this Sports Entertainment Extreme, we wanted to make him more real. And bro, I saw a side of Glenn I never saw before. He pulled it off. He was very convincing. I mean, I was really taken back.
A good friend of mine, friend of yours, someone who's always been one of your supporters, brought in for a one-shot as the SEX's backstage announcer. You said earlier everything was separate. Tony Schiavone, what was it like bringing Tony in, and why didn't he stick around?
Bro, that was the best thing I ever saw Tony do. First of all, I know Tony did not want to get back in. I practically had to beg him. Tony, please do this. Please do this. Bro, he showed up in this Hawaiian shirt with a beard. He looked cool as, you know what? The promo he cut on TNA, in my opinion, was the best thing he ever did. It was unfreaking believable. Bro, I mean, evidently, I guess there was real heat with him and TNA. I mean, I don't know what it stems back to. I don't know what it's about, but there was a real issue there, bro.
With Tony, it's funny when you know Tony behind the scenes. It's like this is a super sharp, funny guy who did his job well. One of the great speakers in WCW, great speakers in the history of wrestling. An untapped thing, the Tony Schiavone character. So you just basically had to beg him to do one show. Is that basically
one show? And bro, he was brilliant. I mean, that was brilliant. That was unbelievable. What a performance.
You also had an interesting kind of duo. They called themselves The Gathering. Julio De Niro, who was someone we might know from I believe he was in the waning days of WCW, as well as Alexis Lurie, who we now know as Mickie James. What was early Mickie James like? I remember her as a standout in early TNA.
Bro, it's funny because I had Mickie on my show a couple of years ago. I'm pretty close with Mickie and Nick, and I'll never forget, bro, what Mickie did for me. I mean, bro, I was supposed to go work for Nick and Mickie in England. And I had to fly from Colorado to New York and then from New York to England. Okay, bro? My mother was sick at the time. So, bro, I flew from Colorado to New York. As soon as I landed in New York, I called my father. And I could tell, my mother was on a deathbed, right? So, bro, from the airport, I had to call Mick and Nikki and say, guys, I gotta fly. I gotta go to Florida. I can't go to England. And, bro, they promoted this whole thing around me. You know, it was like Vince Russo on trial, this, that, and the other thing. And bro, I spoke. I didn't even talk to Nick. I spoke to Mickie. Bro, how warm and understanding how she treated me at that point in my life, like I will never, ever, ever forget. I mean, bro, literally, like I'm in an airport in New York. You know, my mother's dying. I want to get to my father. I'm supposed to go to England. I will never, ever forget the conversation I had with Mickie ever. But bro, again, giving credit where credit is due, that was all Raven. Raven brought in those guys. Raven brought in Mickie. Raven had brought in CM Punk. That was all attributed to Raven. Raven had an eye for talent. And if Raven felt he could do something with somebody, he would beg you till that person was brought in. And let me tell you, bro, he never disappointed. He delivered every single time he went to bat for somebody.
Yeah, and now it's coming back to me as far as Julio De Niro and The Gathering and CM Punk and of course that was Raven's doing in a lot of ways. And Raven was someone who's very over in the early days of TNA. What was Raven like to work with? He's an interesting character.
Oh God, bro, he's bro, he's the kind of person like that people in the wrestling business are going to hate. He's that type of a person that it's not going to work. They're going to hate him. He's going to get heat with the office and this, that, and the other thing. Raven was a very creative guy, bro. Not only was he always pitching ideas, bro, he was pitching ideas for 3 months or 6 months, and he had every week written down. I mean, that's how Raven was. And, bro, there are a lot of people in the business that, like, it's like when you're in that spot, it's like, bro, don't tell me what you want to do. Keep your ideas to yourself, because they take it as, oh, you think your ideas are better than mine. That's ego. I never had that problem with Raven because, bro, I welcomed ideas. And not only that, bro, he wasn't just coming up throwing stuff out there off the top of his head. He was thinking things through. He was writing books. He was writing volumes. As a writer, how could I not freaking respect that? What made it difficult sometimes is, like, he had so much that it was like, Raven, we couldn't possibly do all this. Like, this is way too much. We possibly couldn't do it.
And that's Vince Russo saying that.
Yeah, exactly. No, bro, I'm telling you, exactly. Because he would come up with shit like, that the movie Saw was made out of. I mean, he would come up with incredible stuff. And you got to remember too, bro, at that time, I'm working for TNA. So, like, I know, like, Raven, we're not going to be able to pull this off, bro. We don't have the finances to pull this off. We're not going to be able to do this the way you envision it.
So, Sports Entertainment Xtreme is one of the kind of offshoots of your new approach that you're trying in TNA, which is this: not everybody's going to know what's going on. Very few people are going to know what's actually going on. And it's going to be improvised. People are going to have to react as if it was real. And SEX debuts December 4th, 2002, as does Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper, in a very infamous promo and interactions with you, comes out, and it's something that we all remember. Tell us about Roddy Piper improvising the things Piper said, the fallout backstage. Walk us through that if you could.
Bro, how come nobody ever wants to talk about this?
I do.
Like, why do we want to talk about, like, David Arquette a million times and, like, bottles being real or fake, rather than some of the most interesting freaking stories that would blow your socks off?
I think people need to be educated as to the Vince Russo thing a lot of times. I think people's narratives are shaped by what they hear, and I think it's up to us to push out a different viewpoint and to educate people as to what you actually did. And
this is perhaps one of the most interesting, non-predictable, chaotic, dangerous situations that happen to me in the business. Bro, here's how we used to work. I used to hang out at Jeff's house in Hendersonville, Tennessee, with his wife Jill, while everybody was at the arena the day of the show. Okay, bro? I would hang out with Jill. We would just hang out together, right? When Jeff needed me to come to the building, he would call me. Okay, bro? The only two guys that were smartened up were Ron and Don Harris. Okay? So I would get in my car. I would drive to the fairgrounds. I would drive around to the back entrance, and Ron and Don Harris would meet me there. Okay, bro? So in this instance, I get there. I'm in position. Ron and Don Harris come around. I know my cue of when I'm going in. Nobody else knows. Nobody else knows I'm even in the state. Okay? So, bro, I'm standing by the back door, and all of a sudden, I hear Piper's bagpipes. And I'm like, that SOB Jeff. We're working everybody, bro, and we're not telling anybody that Vince Russo is at the building and going to hit the arena. Jeff did not smarten me up about Roddy. He did not tell me Piper's going to be on the show.
Why? For the same reason, or was there another
I
reason?
guess for the same reason, bro. I guess for the same reason. Wanted to get Vince's reaction, I guess. So, bro, okay, I hear Piper's music, and that's my first instinct is, you son of a bitch. Like, you're going to work me now? Like, that was my first. But I'm like, okay, fine, let's play ball. So, bro, I'm in the back. I'm at the back door. I got it cracked open a little bit. And Piper's going into his promo. Okay? And, bro, he starts going into this speech about Vince Russo killing Owen Hart.
About you. Like, he's there to plug his book, I guess, but for some reason he just starts going off about you.
Not just about me, bro, about me being responsible for the death of Owen Hart. Bro, I'm standing back there and I'm listening to this, and I'm getting hotter and hotter, and like, I'm getting so hot to the point of, I don't care that you're effing Roddy Piper. Somebody's got to shut you up. Enough, bro. Enough. So, bro, again, you talk about like impromptu, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'll never forget, Piper turns his back and starts walking to the far corner. I walk in that back door. Okay, bro, and I'm headed to the ring. Bro, here's what's going on in my mind, okay? See, bro, this is what I mean when I tell you the things I remember vividly and when I don't remember. This is vivid. All of this is vivid. What's going through my mind is, I'm thinking to myself, okay, while his back is turned, the only way I'm going to have a shot is to take him down from behind, because if I don't, he will kill me. Okay? Then I'm also thinking, bro, once I'm thinking that thought, here's my second thought. The Hulk Hogan defamation lawsuit. And how horrible that was for me, and how miserable that was for me. So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, bro, if you take Piper down from behind, is he going to sue you? Is there going to be an assault? Bro, I'm thinking of all this as I'm walking towards the ring. So finally, bro, thinking of that lawsuit thing, I think I'm not going to touch him. So, bro, his back is turned to me, and I position myself in the opposite corner. Okay? Bro, the Piper has no idea I'm there. He has no freaking idea. He turns around and he looks me right in the eye. I mean, bro, you got to understand. I have no idea what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do. All I know is I'm there to say, bro, you need to shut the F up about Owen. Enough, bro. Enough. I don't care what you do to me. You need to stop. So he turns around, and I'll never forget the look on his face. It was like he saw a ghost. He was just burying me, and there I was. So, of course, bro, now we're improving. This is, bro, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? So, he comes over to me, bro, and I never watched this back either. Matt, I never watched it back. This could be a great Patreon. I never watched it back. But I think he comes over to the corner. I think he says a few things to me. I think he winds up like kind of, what do they call, paintbrushing me or something like that, like. Right.
Slapping
like.
You.
Yeah, slapping, but not hard. Like he did. Bro, if he would have hit me shoot, like I would have fought. He would have kicked my ass, but I would have fought him. But he didn't do that. He kind of gave me like a little paintbrush. And I think at that point, bro, the Harris brothers were on their way out to the ring. Because, like, Jeff's in the back at Gorilla, and Jeff's like, holy shit, like, I don't know what's going to happen here. Okay? So, bro, here's the funny part. So now the Harris boys come out to the ring. They get Piper to the back, and I'm in the ring. Bro, this is on live TV, right? So now one of the Harris boys comes over to me. One got Piper out of there. The other one comes over to me and says, Vince, okay, it's over, bro. You need to go now. You need to go now. And I said, I need to go now? I said, you can go back there and tell Jeff to go F himself. I'm not going anywhere, bro. This is freaking live TV. I'm not leaving this effing ring. He wants to do that to me, bro. Well, now I'm going to do this to him. So, bro, the Harris boys go back and deliver the message. Okay? Bro, you talk about as real as it gets. They come back. Okay, bro. Bro, these are my good friends now. They're my friends to this day. And Ronnie Harris goes to me, Vince, Jeff says you need to get out of the effing ring, and you need to get out of the effing ring now. Okay, bro? And I said, Ronnie, go F yourself. I'm not going anywhere. Bro, these guys, the Harris brothers were freaking legit. Bro, he put me in a chokehold, and within 2 seconds, I saw black. Like, I was freaking out. He legitimately, bro, choked me freaking out to get me to leave that ring. And, bro, like, that's the thing that blows my mind. You have situations like this in the business that are so real and so freaking interesting and will never, ever be duplicated again. But yet we want to talk about the most stupid. We want to talk about our champagne bottles of real or fake.
Nobody really knew what to take of it when it happened. This whole thing. The Torch wrote, it was their headline, Piper makes surprise appearance for TNA, debates Russo over Owen's death. Wade writes, in NWA, TNA's latest attempt to capture the attention of its target audience, wrestling fan, and they call that wrestling fans who regularly read insider newsletters and websites. It dedicated most of its first hour of its 2-hour pay-per-view last week to a verbal debate between Russo and Piper. The content of the debate covered many subjects, but none raised as much controversy as the use of Owen's Hart death to score points. That was much of the criticism, but what you're saying is that was 100% unplanned.
Well, bro, see, that's a lot to what the dirt sheet writers don't like about me is the number of times they were worked. Absolutely, bro. He thinks, oh yeah, we this was on paper and we wrote this down and we dedicated this amount of time and we actually put in a script that we're going to talk about Owen Hart and Owen's death. That's where these guys are clueless, bro. They cannot tell fact from fiction, and when they find out they've been worked, they get pissed off at you. Freaking Brian Alvarez, where I clearly showed him, dope, it's a fake bottle. Like, are you that freaking ignorant? Because he made me break it down from now he hates me even more. Now there's more of a vendetta. These guys hate me when they're freaking worked, bro. They were worked. There was not one shred of this that was written or discussed. I didn't know Piper was going to be there. Piper didn't know I was going to be there. When we're face to face, neither one of us knows what's going to freaking happen.
Speaking of people that hate you, Bruce Mitchell says in the same episode of the same issue of Pro Wrestling Torch, he reviews the show, gives it a 0.0. It says 0.0.
You see what I mean, bro? I mean, my God, like, what? Come on.
He says it, the worst show I've seen in years, with no respect for the living, the dead, or even themselves. No good wrestling, and nothing makes sense in this promotion. Everybody associated with this night ought to be ashamed of themselves. Roddy Piper jerked off. Jeff Jarrett jerked off. Most of all, Vince Russo jerked off. All on someone else's dime. An awful show.
See what I mean, bro? They don't have a clue. They cannot separate fact from fiction. As a matter of fact, I'll go one step further. They think fiction is real, and they think when something's real, it's fiction.
Keller goes on to say that Paul Bearer, Percival Pringle, was backstage and was noticeably concerned and upset backstage when listening to the references to Owen by Russo and Piper.
I don't know, bro. I never went backstage. I never went there. So when I was done with Piper and they took me out of the building, I got in my car and went home. So I never was on the other side.
What about the fact that you're in the ring on live TV and you guys are talking about someone who tragically just died? Like, is that, I mean, it didn't just happen, but who tragically died in the ring? Real stuff, real death.
No, bro, that's why I went to the ring. I went to the ring to shut him the F up. That's what I was saying when I was in the back. If nobody's going to shut him up, I'm going to go out there and shut him up. That's why I went out to the ring. Bro, I can't even, I'll be honest with you, Matt, we'd have to watch it back because I don't remember saying anything. I don't remember saying anything to Piper.
And Piper's issue with Owen is something that's brought up a few different times. When you were at WCW, there was a scene where Piper flips out against the powers that be. He starts going off backstage. He's swinging a chair against the wall. And all of a sudden, he says, "I loved you, Owen. I loved you, Owen." Are you aware of that?
No. No.
Of course, years later, right before his passing, you appeared on his podcast, and he brings the subject up again. It was something that, and you guys actually got in the debate about it, about Piper, the same thing we talked about last week, about how people feel you forced him to do it, you saying you're just the writer, about, him saying, and basically making the same points you did last week. Before we get into that, though, a lot of people aren't really aware of the relationship between Piper and the Hart family. They are related, are they not?
Bro, I honestly don't know, Matt. I don't know.
The word is that they're distant cousins, they're related, and that Bret Hart has said that Piper was the only one to visit him in the hospital when he had his stroke, that they were close like brothers. So Piper was closer to the Hart family than maybe a lot of people know. How were things with you and Piper after this particular thing in the ring happened?
God, bro, you know what's funny? It's like, bro, I went on Piper's show. I can't get Bruce Prichard to come on my show because he called me a liar. I went on Piper's show after he has accused me of killing Owen Hart. Right. I should be running the other way. I literally should be running the other way. I went on Piper's show and we went head to head for bro. I think it was like 2 freaking hours.
Yeah, it was a two-parter, and Piper questioned you on the decision to send Owen Hart down to the Raptors, called you out for making him do it, and that you should have known better. You said that Owen didn't have a problem with it, and that when Owen had a problem with an angle, he spoke up, and that angle was changed. Piper wasn't buying it. I think Piper was never could reconcile in his head the fact that Owen was gone.
I agree with that. Matt, how many times have you seen Kiss in concert?
I never see them live, but I know their live show is their live show.
Okay, well, Matt, let's see. Kiss has been touring since probably I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say 25 years. No, 73, 83, 93, 2003, 2005, 45 years. Okay, they've been touring for 45 years. You know how they are. Gene Simmons is all about the almighty buck. So, bro, to be on the conservative side, they've been touring 45 years. On the conservative side, 200 dates a year. Okay, bro? 200 dates a year for 45 years. Every single one of those shows, Gene Simmons is connected to a harness and taking from the stage to the very top of the arena. Okay, bro? 45 years. 200 times a year. He has done that from day one. So the fact of the matter that, that is part of the show. That is part of the spectacle.
Absolutely. Every time.
Well, I can't even imagine what is 45 years times 200? How many times is that? I can't even imagine.
That's 9,000 times.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, bro, it was an accident. And it was an accident, quite frankly, that I had nothing to do with. I knew nothing about the rigging. I didn't know how they were going to do it. Like I said, bro, I never originally wrote it in the script. I was called and asked if I could find a spot for this, and I did. And, like I said, bro, to pin that on me, but, I get it, bro. I get it. Piper was close with Owen. He never accepted how Owen died. I get it. But, Matt, you want to know what the funny thing is? This is where wrestling's so freaking weird. After that incident, Piper came back when we were on Fox Sports Net. I had to produce Piper. I was the writer of the show. Do you know, bro, I produced Piper that whole day, and Piper acted as if none of that had ever happened between us?
That's weird, right?
Very weird. Now, bro, I would think, okay, he's a professional. And Piper was the ultimate professional. So, okay, bro, we got a show to do. I'm going to put my differences aside. But, bro, think about this. We had the incident in the ring. We do this Fox Sports Net where I work with them the whole day, never says a word to me. And then we go to his show, and it's I've killed Owen Hart all over again. So I have to ask myself the question, Roddy, how much do you really believe that you never said anything to me when we were one-on-one alone? You never pulled me aside. You never said anything to me. The only time you said something was when it was on a show and in the public eye. So I have to ask myself, bro, how much of that did you really mean? I don't know. He never, ever, ever confronted me one-on-one, ever.
That day, did you see Piper in the ring, or that week, or that month? Did you have
what day now?
The day that the day that you're in the ring with him in TNA, when you do all that stuff.
No, I don't see him till the Fox Sports gimmick. That's the next time I see him. That's it.
And that was years later, or how much longer was that?
Bro, I don't even think it was years later. Whenever TNA went on Fox Sports Net, I mean, you'd have to look that up. But that's when I worked with him again. It was at Universal Studios.
But meanwhile, he's going around saying these kind of things. And this is the kind of thing that has teeth. One of the things you said earlier to me about when people keep saying the same things over and over again, and it becomes part of the folklore about Vince Russo. But the fact of the matter is, WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, had to pay a settlement in a wrongful death suit, and also was able to sue the person that made the latch, Loomer Limited, to recoup some of their money because of the trigger latch that released faultily. In any part of the lawsuit does it mention the name Vince Russo. It's just another way of making you an easy target for something that you literally had nothing to do with, right?
And that's horrible, bro. Like that's a horrible one. I mean, that is non-forgiving, bro. Like that is absolutely horrible.
And I'll tell you personally, before we move on from this subject, is that in my conversations with certain writers, one of the writers was DMing me, and the minute I knew that his bias was beyond his logic was when he started blaming you for Owen, because the way I look at it, there's a list of people who are responsible, a list. And to go after Vince Russo as being anywhere near the top of that list is beyond.
And Matt, like I say, it was never written into the original show. I don't know how many times I have to say that. It was never written in the show.
So we're talking about TNA, and that's where all this is coming about. And to put a little bow on the early days of TNA, because there's so much to talk about, where did this go? Why did this not happen with the improvisation, the work shoot? I can imagine myself some major issues with it. But for you, why didn't it continue? Why didn't you follow through with it?
Because, Matt, it's the same problem in wrestling today. It's the fear of the unknown. Where is this going? Bro, I don't know where it's going, but as long as people are watching this, we will figure it out. It's the fear of the unknown, bro. It's the fear of taking chances. It's the fear of doing things differently. This is where I always had the disagreement with Eric Bischoff, because Eric Bischoff was one of those guys with the 3-month arc and the 6-month arc. And yeah, bro, I'm going to waste all my time and energy in writing shit 3 months and 6 months from now that are not going to happen by the time we get there. So that's what happened to Jeff. Where is this going? The fear of the unknown. Bro, let's just go back to wrestling. We know wrestling. Let's just go back to wrestling. Bro, they always go back to wrestling, and every time they go back to wrestling, bro, they start spiraling downhill.
And of course, the TNA story is one, it's interesting for years and years, but this first year, we're not even through the first year of TNA, and we talked about that the topic was going to be TNA early days, sex sells, and we covered, of course, the first couple episodes that you were involved with, the talent involved, the SEX, as well as the Piper incident that everybody remembers. But we put out a question to our Twitter followers at RussoCoonTWC, and we asked if they had questions. So there's a lot of questions. You ready to answer some questions from our awesome Twitter followers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And of course, we will have questions on Twitter as well as our Facebook. I think next one will be exclusive to Facebook when we ask questions. Facebook.com/RussoCoonTWC. Zach Ward at Zach Ward 1989, and Josh Kuhn and he's no relation, at COON Dogg, DAWG 6969, pretty much asked the same question. Was there any talent that TNA or you wanted in TNA but couldn't get?
God, bro, I'm trying to go back and I'm trying to remember, man. Bro, not really, because like there was no money. I mean, there was just no money. So you weren't thinking about bringing this guy in from the WWE and that guy. Bro, I was shocked when Jeff told me about Kurt Angle, like for the first time. I was shocked because TNA just did not have that kind of money then anyway, just starting out the early years of bringing guys into the company.
This is from Paul at Paul Eyes on Me with a Z. How is Mike Sanders, above average Mike Sanders? Of course, he's on Twitter now. You should check him out and give him a follow. How is Mike Sanders seen in the locker room and backstage? He was one of the best on the mic in WCW.
Yeah, and bro, Mike Sanders will tell you himself, he went to WWE and they were going to use him in WWE. And guess who buried Mike Sanders, bro, at WWE, who did not know him at all?
I have no idea. I'm inclined to say JR, but who was it?
Paul Heyman.
Huh.
Oh, well, Paul Heyman has a role on WWE with a microphone. So God forbid there be somebody else on the WWE that could cut a promo. And Mike will tell you the story. I'm not going to speak for Mike. He told it on my show. They wanted to use him in the WWE. He went to the WWE. Paulie buried him behind the scenes, and Mike's WWE career was over before it even started. One of the most talented, most natural talkers you will ever come across. The fact that Mike Sanders has been sitting at home for the last God knows how many years is a joke.
This is from Matt Lewinsky at podcast_hitman. Was there any blowback for the Raven scalping incident? Do you remember the Raven scalping incident?
Well, it was a blowback from Raven. He was kind of high. Yeah, Jim Mitchell had to shave Raven's head, and he like kind of went against the grain. He kind of – exactly, Matt. Exactly. I mean, he like literally cut up Raven's head. Raven was freaking hot. See, that's something too like that, and Alvarez would blame me for. That freaking James Mitchell used the trimmers the wrong way and went against the grain rather than with the grain. And he scarred up Raven's scalp pretty good.
Well, as long as he didn't shave his head with a champagne bottle, I think.
Yes.
From Uzwan Ugg at Offenderer on Twitter. He asked questions we've answered, but this is interesting because I think I know the answer. Let's say the Roddy Piper thing goes to a real fight. How well do you think you could have handled yourself against Piper in a real fight?
Oh, please, bro. He would have killed me. Are you kidding me? But I got to tell you something, Matt, though. Like at that point, like I didn't care. I just wanted him to shut up. I just wanted him to stop. So like I could have cared less. I swear to God, Matt, we got to do that on Patreon because I don't remember saying anything to him. I'm curious now to see what I said.
I think on Patreon, what we're going to do with that, and we'll do it for everybody. So if you're on our lowest level where you get the bonus content, our bro level where you get a free bonus episode every month, I think a watch along is not going to work because we need to hear what's said. So we'll watch a little bit, we'll stop, we'll talk, we'll watch a little bit, we'll stop and talk. And how does that sound to you, Vince?
Yeah, that sounds great, man, because I want to see that again, bro, because I don't. I remember him coming to me. I remember the paintbrush. I don't remember me saying anything.
This is a great question from Ryan Loy at Random Her.
See, bro, those guys should have known. We got to go back and look at this. I don't know if I had a microphone when I went to the ring. I don't know if I had a microphone when we've got to look at that.
Yeah, and guys, make sure to join our Patreon because it is January 2019, a brand new year, and we are really trying to get the Patreon up there. So join the revolution and help support our show and help us have the hottest Patreon going. We have the most bonus content. We work the hardest. We got the most stuff on there. If you want to see Vince Russo's take on it, scene by scene, go ahead and join today. It's very easy. Patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Ryan Loy on Twitter. This is a great question. I wonder this myself. Why didn't you guys pull the trigger with Raven as champion when he was feuding with Jeff? Like,
bro, Matt, can I tell you something? There. Matt, we could do 10 shows on TNA.
Well, we better. We got a whole year to do. So
Dixie loved Raven, and Jeff hated him, and that was an ongoing battle, bro, battle.
So when you say loved and hated, right?
Yes.
Do you mean character, behind the scenes, or a mix of both?
Behind the scenes.
So if Jeff loved Raven behind the scenes, he might have been more agreeable to a bigger push.
He hated, bro. I hope people are real. See, bro, can I tell you something, Matt? You know, I know you're like from the dirt sheet world, bro. The shit they talk about like is so like not important. I mean, bro, Meltzer on the show yesterday was talking about, bro. First of all, Keller was talking about how he drives around in his car and thinks about wrestling. Meltzer was talking about how he's going to roll out of bed and the first thing he's going to do is put on the wrestling from Japan. Bro, here's the problem with these guys not being in the business. They talk about shit nobody cares about. They're talking about fake matches, bro. Nobody gives a shit. They can't talk about anything else because they're not there. They don't know what goes on behind the scenes. They don't know why Raven was never pushed as TNA champion. They can't talk about the things that are freaking interesting because you had to be there, bro. You had to experience that. Freaking Dixie. I mean, Raven would work Dixie, you know, for Raven to benefit. Jeff knew Raven was working Dixie. Therefore, Jeff had heat with Raven. Therefore, that affected the way Vince Russo had to write for Raven. All these things come into play, bro. All of them.
Is Raven one of those guys who's like you, who says the truth as he sees it and doesn't really...
Yeah.
You know,
bro, anybody from the East Coast is going to be that way. I'm telling you, Dreamer's that way. You know, like I said, you know, Bubba Ray, Vito, freaking Devon. I mean, that's just how it is, bro. It's just the way it is. And a lot of Jeff hated the Dudleys. Jeff hated freaking Bubba. That's why. That's why Bischoff hates me. I don't go behind people's back. I'll say it to you. People don't like that.
With Jeff Jarrett, you know, and you know, I like Jeff personally, professionally. I'm a fan of his, and but this is a criticism that's come up a lot and something that needs to be addressed. This is from Sonny at Olympus TNA. That's funny. Why was Jeff Jarrett champion all the time? Does he think he's Triple H?
Well, you know, bro, I gotta look at this like subjectively, and I did. Bro, when it's your company, you don't feel like anybody's going to do a better job than you. I mean, it's that simple. This was Jeff's company, so in Jeff's mind, nobody is going to carry this belt any better than I am because nobody cares about this company more than I do. Nobody's got the stock in this company more than I do. And I mean, and that's why he's making that decision, bro.
Just so many good questions here on Twitter. With Sonny Siaki, we talked about earlier, was there a certain reason why he didn't go further? Like, was it politically or you know, in ring, or why didn't Sonny Siaki?
Yeah, man, I can't remember because I left for a while, bro. When I became a Christian, I left. I didn't want to do it no more, and I left. So I was gone for a certain period of time. I don't know. I know Dusty took over at that time and stuff. So I really don't know what happened in my absence. But I don't know, bro. I can tell you. I could tell you it wasn't me, but I don't even know if I was there or not when that happened.
From tightly wound jester at the show jester, friend of mine, Corey, asks, and this is a good question because this guy kind of comes in about the time that this is going on, and he's been around ever since. What did you think about Abyss at the time? Did you see his potential? And he asked if he was a locker room leader. I don't think he was, but was your plans for Abyss bringing him in?
Well, bro, of course, the guy's a freak. He's got a great look. He's a big dude. He could do Mick Foley type things. Had no regard for his freaking body. But, bro, the most insecure human being you'll ever meet. Insecure. Constantly. Was that okay? Was that good? But was that what you wanted? So something in his upbringing or something, bro. The most insecure individual I ever met in my life, but also one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life.
There was and that's why I kind of laughed when someone said, was he a locker room leader? Because I've heard those things before about him. With Abyss, there was a little bit when Bruce Prichard did an episode on TNA, and they asked why Abyss didn't make it to WWF. I think Bruce Prichard's response was something like, he didn't really have it in him. But then Abyss responded like something like that he wanted to see the TNA thing through, and Prichard called bullshit on that. Why do you think Abyss didn't go to WWF or do more outside of TNA?
Because, bro, I'll be honest with you. He knows how he is. You know what I'm saying? He knows how he is. He knows he's insecure. He knows he has an issue with that. And he's a brilliant individual. Bro, I think he knew that would not fly in the WWE. I think he knew because of the kind of person he was. If he was that way at WWE, he would have been done in 3 months. And I think he knew that. We accepted him for who he was. He knew that they wouldn't.
That's a great answer. And that's
the truth, bro.
That brings to close the early days of TNA. I think we covered it all. And the SEX, Piper, every question we had on Twitter, and also some early stuff about Jeff and Jerry. But that brings our talk about TNA to a close. But that brings us to our first segment. And I guess we're going to maybe ask people what to name it. I was thinking maybe Outrage of the Week, or maybe it's the Truth and Consequence of the Week, or maybe it's Vince telling the truth, or something, clears the air. But what is your subject of the week this week, Vince, that you want to clear the air about and get some truth out about?
This freaking Brian Alvarez. Bro, I hate to break the news to everybody. Me and Matt are recording this on a Thursday,
right.
We did the Mark and Mark show on Tuesday that just went out to the brand members. Guys, in the Mark and Mark show, it is clearly laid out that it is a candy glass champagne bottle. It's clearly laid out, bro. We see a bottle explode in a million pieces all over the mat. Then we go to a clip of a guy legitimately hitting another guy over the head with a champagne bottle. Bro, it makes a horrific sound, almost kills the guy, and the bottle doesn't break.
So let's tell people what the hell we're talking about real quick. Okay. So Brian Alvarez, for those of you who listen who don't, we have way more listeners than subscribe to the Torch, subscribe to the Observer. But Brian Alvarez is one of the, more well-known, and some people feel credible dirt sheet guys, as you would say, for Wrestling Observer, Figure4Online.com. And he's one of the things he does is he reviews these nitros from 20 years ago. And so 20 years ago, we're doing the Russo WCWs. It started with him watching one with the champagne bottle breaking, and he said something like, Vince Russo doesn't care about people. He doesn't care about people's welfare because of the champagne bottle, because of the Goldberg incident where he threw himself through the window, and then also Bret Hart speeding off in a car and almost slipping on ice and dying. You were upset about this. I reached out to Brian Alvarez. I sent him a DM, and he actually addressed all of these things on his show. But in doing so, he doubled down on his idea that during a Thunder match between Champagne Chris Kanyon and Bam Bam Bigelow, that he used a real champagne bottle and how unsafe it was, and also didn't really apologize by attributing those other things to a general lack of care about people that WCW had at the time. And this is your response to that.
Well, first of all, you said credible. Bro, you have zero credibility if you think real champagne bottles are being broken over people's heads. You have no credibility. This is why, Brian, to the lowest common denominator, how can you be an expert when you are being a total freaking mark, bro? You're a 43-year-old man, bro. You actually think, let's walk this out from the beginning to the end, Matt. You actually think I handed Chris Kanyon a real champagne bottle. Okay, think about this now for a second. I told Kanyon, Chris, you need to hit Bam Bam Bigelow over the head with this real champagne bottle. Okay, so right there, bro, you think Chris is going to say, okay, no problem. Seriously, like you think Chris is going to say, yeah, Vince, I'll hit the guy over the head with a real bottle, no problem. Okay, so now that's got to happen. Now I got to go to Bam Bam. And I got to say, Bam Bam, by the way, Chris is going to break a real champagne bottle over your head. And now Bam Bam has to say to me, yeah, okay, Vince, that sounds great. Like, so just think about that for a second, bro. A guy agreeing to do it and a guy taking it. Do you realize how absurd that is? Then, bro, we show the clip. The bottle explodes in a million. Bro, glass does not break that way, Brian. Anybody at home, go break a bottle. It usually breaks into, you know when you see the old Westerns or an old movie, they break the bottle and they got the shard half in their hands. That's how a bottle usually breaks. It doesn't freaking explode. You see pieces all over Then we show what it would look like in real life, and we show the sound of it, okay? Bro, he's still not backing up. Here's what he said in the clip. He actually said, well, I've Googled candy glass. Don't say nothing.
He did some research.
I'm not done.
Okay.
Do you realize how much of a mark you're being now, bro? Where I've blatantly proven you wrong, so now you're digging deeper, bro. Now you're saying, oh well, I actually Googled candy glass. Now you're doing research to make me a freaking liar. Now you're doing research. Then Matt, on top of that, you know what he says? All I know is it sounded like a real bottle to me, Matt. Today, the clips are going to go up on my YouTube channel for everybody to see. You're going to hear what a real champagne bottle on somebody's head sounds like. So the fact that he's still saying it sounded real to me, no, bro, we're going to show you what a real champagne bottle. But, Matt, here's the part you got to look at. First of all, he's picking two guys that are both dead. Because if they were alive, we could go to either one of them right now and they would laugh.
But it's not like he said it because they were dead, though.
I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that. So because either guy would say, bro, what are you, a mark? That's what they would say. Either guy would say that. Secondly, bro, here let me get into a couple of other things. He talks about the it can't be candy glass because Kanyon is wielding the bottle by the neck of the bottle. So like candy glass is supposed to be delicate, so it would have broken. Bro, in the clip that we found, Kanyon ain't wielding anything. Kanyon grabs the bottle by the at the bottom of the bottle, bro, the base, and he holds it and smashes it against Bam Bam's head. He's never wielding it around like so. Where Alvarez is getting that, I don't know.
So, from my viewpoint,
wait, I'm not done yet.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Then he's saying Bam Bam, as soon as Bam Bam gets hit, he's bleeding like a stuffed pig. Bro, we didn't see any blood in the clip we took. There's no wielding of the bottle, and we didn't see any clip. Now, bro, this particular show, it happened on Thunder. It's not up on the WWE network. I don't even know where he saw the clip. I don't know where he saw it, but what I know is we had to get a clip from Germany. And in that clip, Kanyon isn't waving around any champagne bottle, and we do not see any blood. So I don't even know what he's talking about.
Well, I'm thinking that he saw it, just maybe on Nitro, they showed a clip from what happened on the previous Thunder.
No, we looked at that show. There's no clip. No. There's no clip there. We looked at that.
So you're saying there's no the fact that he heard it and the fact that he saw it, he made up.
No, I'm not saying that at all, bro. I want to know where he has seen the footage. The only thing I could think of, bro, is he taped it back in 1999, and he still has all the Thunder tapes. You can't find it online, bro. So like when he's talking about, bro, you know how we showed our proof? When he's talking about Kanyon, wheeling it around by the neck and the blood. Show me that, bro. I need to see that. I can't find that anywhere.
So in the match that I saw where it happened, it was a champagne bottle on a pole match, shockingly enough. And the lights go dark. When the lights come back on, it doesn't even show Kanyon going up to get the bottle. It just shows it in his hands, right? So it's not like he brought it down from there. It may have been held hidden somewhere. It appeared to me it's clearly not a real champagne bottle. From my viewpoint, though, someone who has reached out to Brian, had pleasant interactions with him. I don't sense the sense of ego and the sense of that I do with other guys. So Brian, this is Matt talking to you now, is that this is a great chance to be the first guy. Be the first guy who apologizes to Vince Russo. Let's see if you could be the first guy, because in reality, the first thing you said was unfair, about, Bret Hart skidding away on ice. Goldberg dropped the thing and decided to bash through it with his arm.
Bro, you know what? Somebody smartened me up about that too, Matt, because when they said it to me, I remembered it. I don't remember who smartened me up. Somebody did. Bro, Goldberg got into it with Scott Hall that night.
That's right.
And Goldberg was fuming. Now when somebody said that, that I remember. So, bro, Brian Alvarez, he brought it up again after you sent him the email. He brought it up again. Well, then, why wasn't the limo candy glass? Why wasn't the window? Because, bro, he wasn't supposed to put his hand through the window. That's why it wasn't candy glass. The stunt coordinator had an instrument for him to break the glass. He was never supposed to put his hand through the window. He was so pissed off, so fired up that night, he dropped the tool, and he decided to put his own freaking hand through that window in a rage. Somehow, some way, that's my freaking fault, bro. That's my fault.
So I guess with all that being said, Brian, who's probably not listening, but other people are, used these things as a predicate for saying you didn't care about people, which feeds into the folklore about you. Right. That and with those three things all being false, all not being, I would implore him and other people, but particularly him in this case, because I do take him as a decent human being and as someone who's talented and funny and puts on a good show, and someone I'm a fan of and my son is a fan of, to maybe just take a moment, take a step back and say, maybe, I'm wrong about this and I should have said that.
Can you categorize decent human being? A decent human being is going to be on a crusade to bury another human being. That's not a decent human being,
Matt. I don't
Matt.
think he's on a crusade.
No. That's not a decent human being. Decent human beings don't do that. I don't do that to anybody, bro. So don't call him a decent human being. That's not decent, bro.
But you're doing to him what people do to you now. You're taking this one thing that he says on a show.
Those were three things right there. Three things back to back to back, coming off of I wasn't head writer of the show. Vince McMahon and Austin came up. Bro, it's a weekly thing. Don't say one thing, Matt. That's not true.
But I don't think it's a crusade. I think it's the way he thinks, and I don't think it makes him a bad person, that he thinks wrong.
Okay, Matt, we're not talking about thinking. Thinking something and saying something are two different things. So he could think whatever he wants about me. When he goes out there and says, I have no well-being for, I don't care about the well-being of others. That's not a decent human being, bro. It's not.
And I could totally see why that would piss you off and would make you say that. But at the same time, we don't know. It's like when people say Vince Russo's not a good person. The guy's got a family. The guy's got kid. The guy has a business. He's got a couple different businesses. His day-to-day life is probably not, it's not 100% wrestling. It's not even 10%, 20% wrestling. But I think he's one of these guys who sees you through a certain prism and doesn't see you unfair or doesn't see you fairly. And through that prism, he's looking at these things and going, well, of course it's Vince Russo. I'm saying, to me, he seems like a decent guy, capable of maybe taking a step back and going, I was wrong about this. And I'd love to hear him say that.
Well, because he didn't say it. Now, Brian, I let me apologize beforehand. Now I got to take the video that was just going to the Realm Network. Now I got to put that on YouTube. I'll tell you right now, Brian, here's the headline. 100% proof that Brian Alvarez believes wrestling is real. That's the headline. We're going to show the champagne spot that you're talking about, and we're going to show another human being getting hit with a real champagne bottle, and then I'm going to play your audio of, well, it sounded like a real bottle to me. So now, Brian, because you can't say, you know what, I was wrong, it was a champagne bottle, because that's all you had to say, bro. But because you couldn't say that, now I got to make you look like a blithering idiot. And that's the way we'll do business here, bro. When you guys start talking shit, I'm gonna dig up the proof. I'm gonna show you the proof, and you're going to be made like a blithering idiot. We can sidestep all that. All you have to do is say, you know what, bro? I looked at it again. I was wrong. Apparently it was, but no, bro, you couldn't say that. So now I will spend the next 2 days making sure that video gets 10,000 hits and everybody can see what a mark you are. You brought that upon yourself.
Okay, so this is so Vince Russo. So I get it, man, because what he said is like basically saying Vince Russo's a piece of shit person, right? Because of this. And he's wrong about that. And so, of course, you're over there going, screw this guy. Look what he does to me. He does it all the time. He completely, is trying to get me. He's trying to make people think bad things about me. But I think, through the prism of thinking that Vince Russo is careless and that doesn't care about people, which I'm going to say is incorrect. I don't think it means he thinks wrestling is real. I think he thinks it means that you were careless and
nope. He thought one wrestler hit another wrestler over the head with a real champagne. Bro, a 10-year-old kid would think that, Brian, not a 43-year-old Mark, which is why you are a Mark and not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, bro.
But
and you would think with 1,000 matches under his belt, somebody would have smartened him up. Bro, did you hear Disco when I told Disco that story?
No.
Freaking Disco busted out laughing, didn't even say anything, couldn't even comprehend this guy thought real bottles were used.
Didn't Disco tag with Brian Alvarez? Didn't he do a match with? But Brian Alvarez is someone who has wrestled, though. Maybe not 1,000, but, he's wrestled. He's been,
bro. In backyards, he's wrestled.
Okay, so that was Vince's subject of the week, and the great thing about this segment, Vince, is we're never going to be short of things to talk about, right?
And if you're listening to the thousands and thousands and thousands that are listening on Westwood One, bro, check out my YouTube. Go to Vince Russo YouTube. Okay, so you can see what an absolute mark Brian Alvarez is, because the champagne thing will be up on YouTube. Somebody getting hit with a real bottle, and even after all that, the guy can't say, you know what, it was a candy glass bottle.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will. We'll see. Well, that brings us to a close for an awesome episode of Truth with Consequence with Vince Russo. Of course, all this stuff he's talking about and all these shows that he's really kind of explored this subject on and other subjects on is on Russo's brand, russosbrand.com. 10 shows a week, Vince. How do you keep it up?
Well, we keep it up, bro, in there because it's the team, bro. We got Big Vito on there, Goldilocks, Ben Hameen, Stevie Riches, the Disco Inferno, great talent, bro. People that have been in the business and have been around the business and know that the bottles are fake. Those are the people that are part of the brand. We do a different show every day, Castrating the Marks being the most popular show. You could hear that on every Thursday, less than $1 a week. Just go to russosbrand.com.
Now, it's interesting to me, something you don't talk about the Russo's brand is that, of course, I don't know if you mentioned Jeff Lane, but Jeff Lane, of course, your co-host on Casting the Marks, which is the #1 show on the brand, as well as 8 days a week. And 8 days a week is interesting because it gives you a sample of every Russo show on the brand, and that's available to everybody, right?
That's available to everybody. I think that drops on Wednesdays. That's available on iTunes. Google Play. Wherever you could find podcasts, you could find 8 days a week. And also, guys, on Mondays, I do a show called That's Life. And, bro, we talk about the things that really matter in one's life. Bro, wrestling does not matter. Wrestling, we should be watching wrestling for entertainment purposes. That's all it is, bro. It's not a live and die by wrestling. It's entertainment. That's Life is about life, bro. It's about real things, important things that we experience every single day in our lives, bro. And you can get that on all the outlets for free on Monday. I put that up for free on my YouTube channel as well.
And of course, so after you're done subscribing to us on iTunes and giving us a 5-star review, you can subscribe to the Russo's brand and get the shows, especially I think the 8 days a week, because it's a great sampling of what you do on the brand. Of course, check us out at Westwood One Podcast and at all of our social media platforms. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. I've got an idea for this show, Vince. Because it's our first show on a Tuesday, and because it's the beginning of the new year, I wanted to put the full unedited show up one time this year.
Do it.
So that people can see what we do on the Patreon. What do you think?
Do it. Absolutely. And also, I'm going to tell you, just like I told Brian, bro, all you had to do was say I was wrong. Now you're going to be humiliated. Okay. Matt, I'm telling you right now, the comment of Brian Alvarez is a decent human being coming from you. I'm going to make sure Jeff puts that on Castrating the Marks next week, and I'm going to cut a promo on you for referring to this guy that has been trying to discredit me for the last 20 years, will not talk to me man to man, will not have a face to face with me. You calling this a decent human being, there's a castration coming your way.
Well, I think you're justified in your dislike for sure. I just think it's kind of the same thing people do to you. And but in any case, this has been a great episode. Vince, we're taping this on a Thursday. Our Patreons are getting it on Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday, January 4th. Are you getting up early in the morning, like my son and I are, to watch Wrestle Kingdom, Omega versus Tanahashi?
Meltzer said that on Castrating the Marks yesterday. Bro, can I first ask you, what time are we talking about?
It's 3 a.m. Hey, but Meltzer's in Tokyo, though.
Yeah, and from what I understand, and bro, I've been putting him over for this. Hold on now. You can confirm this. Did he bring his son?
I don't know.
I'm hearing that he brought his son with him, and if that's true, I've applauded him for that, bro. I've put him over if that's the case, that he actually brought his son with him.
Tokyo is Tokyo's going to have Wrestle Kingdom, and I know we don't do shout-outs, but I have a couple friends in Tokyo. Dave Hancock, some people might know, because he does social media for people, but my good friend Mark Nielsen is also in Tokyo, and he's been kind of someone who's been neglected to be shouted out to before, but they're good friends of mine, and I'm going to give them a shout-out because they're picking up something for my son, but you are not getting up to watch Wrestle Kingdom. That's not happening for sure.
Bro, my favorite thing about Wrestle Kingdom, here's my favorite thing about Wrestle Kingdom. I get the results, and I read them, and I get to butcher all the names. That's my favorite part of Wrestle Kingdom, bro.
Ours as well. We will see you next week on Truth with Consequences.